All right, here we go. We're live at the Collector Arthouse with Dat Jeff Rosado.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, it's great to another big reveal. People are begging for reveals already. That's usually my MO. I'll do some kind of intro and then like show a painting or something like kind of unique and old school. But today we're here to talk about like all things sorcery pretty much. So I'm more obviously collector side. I have played the game, but I don't have time to play regularly or like competitively certainly. Whereas you are more of a hybrid type, as far as I understand. And I'll let you like introduce yourself. And you got a YouTube channel. I know you're like a strong competitive player because you've come up with some pretty innovative decks you can tell us about with the one turn kill and how you're
For
playing with.
sure.
I don't know if it's your main with the Elementalist, but I know you play with that Artist Proof card, which looks freaking awesome. Have you seen
Yeah, man.
actually? Well, I'll let you
Oh,
intro, but then I want to hear if you've ever seen anybody else ever play with an artist proof in any game, let alone sorcery. That's one of my questions. But why don't you go introduce yourself and like where you're from and what your interest angle is in sorcery?
yeah. For those of you who don't know, I'm Jeff Rosado, Dat Jeff. Of course, my YouTube channel is, well, it's just Jeff Rosado. I'm
Okay.
known for the community for making the Elemental Throne deck. Um, that deck it has been my main, and I am glad that I have the Elementalist AP here. Thought I'd go ahead and show it off to you guys because I just absolutely
Nice.
love this thing. When I first started sorcery, the Elementalist and the Immortal Throne were like the cards that I first saw, and I was like, "Whoa! I just got to build a deck around them, right?" And
Mm-hmm.
then I had no idea how to play the game, but I just kind of dived into it. Rulings kept changing as people
Were you
discovered the
in
game.
like pre Kickstarter or from the Kickstarter or sometime after?
Yeah, so I found out about the game before the Kickstarter actually like distributed the product,
Okay.
and like I proxied up a deck, and actually I think that's what kind of got me a little popular because everyone thought that the proxy deck was like real, and they're like, "How does this
Uh,
guy have all these cards already?" But
yeah.
yeah, I just proxied out the deck just to try out the game and test play it before it got released. When it got released, I got my hands on alpha, and
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky with my pulls, and I was able to build this awesome deck. So yeah, that's kind of what
The
I'm just known for.
Yeah, what's the name of the deck archetype again? You called it something throne?
Yeah, Elemental Throne,
Oh, Elemental
and
Throne. Yeah.
yep. So it
Is that like the one turn kill deck or is that like a
yeah,
different variant of it?
no, it's the same thing.
Oh.
Although I just discovered recently that it could kill in one turn, because
Okay.
before well, actually even currently it's kind of supposed to be a mid-range style deck. So it plays, very efficient creatures, very
Hmm.
powerful spells, and ideally it's just trying to control the board state and pace the game to its favor. It has a powerful draw engine, so the more cards you have, the better your advantage.
Okay.
And yeah, just recently I found out that I could use the Immortal Throne and win in one turn with it. So it's a really sweet deck.
Yeah. So that's actually your primary deck. I thought you were just like experimenting and trying to figure out how to do the one turn kill, but you're actually so like this is your primary deck and basically the Immortal Throne is an alternate win condition, but not like your
Yep.
primary motives or like your primary method of trying to win.
Yes, and actually, I haven't even told
Hmm.
anyone this before, but the main key part about the deck is actually within its creatures. Sure, the Immortal Throne kind of combos off and it can win in one turn, but if you
Yeah.
underestimate the creatures, the deck can just turn into an aggro deck out of nowhere, and that's what always catches people off guard.
Okay. So it's pretty versatile and there's multiple ways to approach it. So have other did you like post it to Eric's Curiosa and did the other people start picking it up and playing with it or is it your kind of own unique thing?
Well, that's a good question because at the
Yeah.
time when I first built it, I know it got popular and a few people actually built the deck and played with it.
Mhm.
But it does have a little bit of expensive card choices, so
Okay.
some people had to kind of just work with what they had.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it has seen play. I've just been waiting for someone to play it at a Courtesan Cup qualifier. That was supposed to be me, but that didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to get a feel for like, so is there like the state of the game? Is there like a certain meta and like a certain deck archetype that people are generally gravitating to, or is it still kind of totally experimental and people just play with their favorite avatar or whatever the case may be? Or like, I guess
That's
try to perfect their own deck archetype, and that
that's a
could be
brilliant
competitive, right?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question because at first, like people were just kind of experimenting with what they had. But I
Mm-hmm.
think since beta came out and people started like refreshing up on card choices and getting cards available to them, I have noticed a shift in meta. So yeah,
Mm.
at first it was kind of chaotic and all over the place. Like everyone was playing sorcerer, but
Yeah.
now I'm noticing that spirits are being played more, and I think that's because that topped at a qualifier recently. Um,
Gotcha.
I see Death Speaker, I see Pathfinder. So I think it's fairly versatile, but every so often you'll have people play like the Earth and Fire aggro decks, and that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty popular right now too.
Okay. So are there like I haven't explored Curiosa .io that much since that's like it seems like it's more of a player tool and that's like I'm not it's not my primary interest so to speak in sorcery, but is there like a metric that tells you like how many games have been played with that deck? Do people register data like that, or is there any kind of way to track who's playing what, or are you just like discovering through the LGS or through Tabletop Simulator what people are doing?
I'm actually, this is all just from my personal experience, just playing in
Yeah.
tournaments at my locals.
Okay.
With playing Tabletop Simulator, those have always kind of been the same. Like, I mean, every now and then you'll get like different decks, but for the most part, a lot of people have been playing Death Speaker and Pathfinder, especially. Pathfinder is very like just interesting because there's so many ways how to play it,
Yeah.
and oh, actually, you know what? For a while, and unfortunately, you'll always see this in tournaments. People will play Battle Mage. You'll definitely see that a lot as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're down in North Carolina, you were telling me? Like what's the
Yep.
how much interest is there in the game down in that area?
So there's just like a fair amount. At first, it was kind of like not so many players, but we are kind of
Uh-huh.
attracting a lot more for sure. Just around this region, I'm not sure like if other like regions have more players or not, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping when the new sets come out, like we'll just get more players for sure.
Yeah. Do you come from like the Magic scene, or what were you doing before Sorcery came along?
Wow, man, you're reading me like a book. Yeah, I certainly came from Magic, and actually,
Okay.
that's probably why I'm really good at Sorcery. I
Mm-hmm.
used to play like high level competitive Magic, and when
Yeah.
Sorcery came out, it kind of was easier to pick up because I've
Hmm.
played Magic, and yeah, basically, I just kind of adopted it.
Yeah. So like at your LGS, like Magic is the primary game they play in that store, and you're seeing some crossover and interest and conversion.
For sure. Like I'll have a
Yeah.
little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh competitive,
Hmm.
like I guess players there as well, but not so much. But Magic and Lorcana right now have been like just really popular.
Oh, Lorcana, really? So that's like
Mhm.
at that's a competitive game. Like I had no idea. I thought it was just kind of like a I don't know, speculative stonker collectible type
Yeah,
thing, or kids, like Pokemon.
I
It's not
personally
competitive.
don't play it, but
Okay.
there definitely is some a lot of people that are playing it for sure. At least at
Yeah.
my locals, they are.
Okay. Interesting. So Lorcana, Magic, Sorcery, and people are
Yeah,
into multiple, huh? All right.
yeah, man, good stuff. Even Pokemon, like you get
Yeah,
like a
really?
little bit of
Yeah.
everything there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty far. I was never like hardcore into the LGS scene per se. I just like I played Magic in the early '90s, and I was like youngish, like probably middle school age or so. So I wasn't driving or anything. I didn't go to stores to play. I just played like all the kids in my neighborhood played Magic, so we just like played at my house or my friend's house, and then I just got out of TCGs for like a long time, man, like 20 years. Like after I went off, I moved like freshman year of high school. So I lost like all my childhood friends and like never played Magic again. And then that was it. Like it like probably what it's 2024, I don't know, 6 7 years ago or so I started like getting interested again in TCGs, but when I came back I didn't really have an interest in Magic per se after all that time off, so I started looking at Flesh and Blood a little bit, and then when Sorcery came out with the original art, like I really gravitated hardcore into that. So yeah, so I played like, casual as a kid. I was never like tournament competitive or anything hardcore like that. But we played pretty competitively as kids against each other. And then as an adult, you play games like Hearthstone and stuff, because you could just jump on the iPad while the kids are watching TV and bang out a few games or whatever. It's quick. It's quick and easy. So what do you think about something I hear about sorcery is like with the learning curve, it could be pretty challenging because of I guess I don't want to say like unclear rules, but there's some like creative freedom in the rules. It's not always like purely black and white, right? So you got to like go and look things up, and then there's like the multi-dimensional aspect of doing things above ground or submerged underwater or buried under earth, like these three-dimensional aspects to it that can get complicated. So how did you learn? Did you like teach yourself just through reading the rule book and asking questions in the discords and whatnot?
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's like a big commitment, it seems, right? Like, so like as a new player coming in, just like picking up a box of beta at the store, what would the average casual person do if there wasn't like a big LGS scene? How are people learning the game?
Yeah, thankfully, whenever like I think what's been helpful for players is well, for one, if you follow the community, there's always just like people ready to answer questions, and me, I always have like a question like every other day. Like there's tons of rulings, tons of mechanics. Like I may as well be a lawyer at this point, knowing all the information for it. But for new players, if you get the precons, it actually comes with a mini rulebook. And you can find this rulebook on Curiosa. No, I lied. On the main sorcery website, so sorcerytcg.com. And I mean, it does take a little bit of a time. Like once you learn the rules and once you play the game a few times, like you pick it up really quick. Especially if you played Magic, you'll really get into it. I personally think, and this sounds pretty weird, but I've been trying to tell like even my friends this when I'm trying to get them into the game. I usually tell them that it's like Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and chess fused together. Like, because it basically is like a board game where you manipulate pieces like chess, you summon minions and monsters just like Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic, but it has that Magic aspect where you have like sights and mana and spells, etc.
Yeah, there's like a heavy strategic component. When I played it, I was like pretty impressed that it was pretty overwhelming. Like I had like tons of questions. I played with Angerworm. I'm sure you know Angerworm, Jared.
Yeah, I haven't personally met him, but I saw
through
like his
socials.
deck when he won. It was like one of the first tournaments I think Sorcery had or something like that.
Yeah, he lives like an hour from me, so I took a ride up there and I taught him a few things one day. So, I coached him up before Gen Con. No, it might have been, I think it was after Gen Con. No, it was before Gen Con because that bastard won that painting, man. That Mix Ignis. I wanted that one.
Con. That's where I recognize him from.
Yeah, he won. Yeah. So, yeah, he's pretty good. But yeah, I was asking him like tons of questions and we had a good time. But I was pretty impressed too with like the strategic aspects of it. It's not like real black and white, like what decisions to make turn by turn. There's a big strategic and spatial element to it, to consider. And that was even like, I didn't have the deck list memorized. We were playing with the starter decks from the alpha precons. I think it was before beta, so we were using like the alpha precons, and even that, like, it's pretty cool, impressive how they constructed those to really give you a good vibe and good flavor for what the game plays like. What do you think of the 4 elemental avatars that some people were asking today? And there's often like speculation about this. Like they made it exclusive to alpha, and then they not only changed the artwork for beta, but they functionally changed the card. So do you feel like those? And of course, I pledged at the top level, so I have the Avatar of Fire painting. So I want those avatars to either be retired and like still be iconic and historic, or I'm just worried that they're going to be like irrelevant. Do you think they'll still have relevancy for gameplay, even though they retired the functional mechanic on them?
Always, because I feel as though Sorcery has a huge advantage right now, and if they don't reprint as many cards, like Alpha and Beta was basically the reprint for Alpha, but I would reprint like maybe a few cards, like maybe like a few of the ordinaries, but some of the iconic cards like Philosopher's Stone, even like, a lot of the like high expensive cards. I think
Yeah.
that as long as they don't reprint them as often, it adds like that specialty to it. Like, so for the 4 elemental avatars, even if
Hmm.
you had to get them through alpha or somehow through beta as a curio, I think that that's what makes those very special. So if they were to
Yeah.
reprint them, they wouldn't be as special. It would definitely crash the market too. So
Yeah.
there's tons of aspects to think of when they do reprints. So I think that
From
they should just let them just be.
yeah, from like a collectability nature, I'm not like I'm sure they'll be really iconic from that because they were like the first really striking element or avatar artwork that was introduced. But I thought it was interesting that they didn't just replace the artwork and keep the functional gameplay mechanics of it. They actually changed the art and the functional gameplay mechanic. So but it's still relevant in the meta. I mean, I guess nothing's changed. It's still the same core set. We'll have to see with Arthurian Legends and I don't know, whatever comes after that. People are
Yeah.
speculating, but
I think that would be cool too. Like if, like with Arthurian Legends, they make new avatars,
yeah,
and I'm picturing like way down the road when people are playing their decks, and like let's say they have one of the original elemental avatars. That's kind of special because now you kind of know that either that player got in at the early stage of the game, or unless like they just spend a lot of money on it. But either way, it's still cool that
yeah,
they have it. You know.
right, yep, yeah, cool, man. So you missed the qualifier. You think about coming up to Baltimore, or is that a tough trip for you?
No, honestly, I've been really considering it. It definitely is going to be like a huge blast. Like, there's going to be tons of people there. Yours
Yeah,
truly, of course.
yep. I'm looking
And
forward to it. You got some
huh?
fans up here, man. Everyone's saying hello. Someone called you El Jefe, I think.
Oh my gosh. I'm just
Nice.
now kind of seeing it off to the side there. That's cool. I'm gonna leave a little heart there for everyone. Love you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, man. Up in the chat. I don't. You can see the chat on your side too, right? If people have,
Yeah,
have
it's a
questions or
lot going
comment, oh,
on.
well, they're definitely commenting. But if you guys have any questions, you could feel the chime in as well.
Of
But
course, of course.
yeah. So you're definitely like a strong player. Are you into collecting a bit too? Oh, here we
Absolutely.
go. What do
Absolutely.
you got there? Is that like a playset?
Uh, no, it's nothing that extravagant. This
Okay.
is kind of just like my book of spells. So this is all my alpha and beta stuff that I could fit in here. I
Yeah.
still have like, other stuff like in the boxes, like bulk rares and whatnot. But yeah, this
Hmm.
just has like everything that I've collected so far. I haven't like I think I'm only actually just missing Crusade and the 4 elemental avatars, and I'd complete the whole collection, excluding foils. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that that's what's so cool about them too. Like getting back into the 4 original avatars, I just like the fact how they are a little hard to get, and then like
Hmm.
from a collector's perspective, even you, I'm sure you've had to like pull an arm and leg just to make sure you got a card in your collection, right?
Yeah.
The thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I didn't really try to collect a lot of cards.
Oh,
Like
really?
I was in a different situation since I like did the top pledge. I had like it came with a artist proof set and then so I had like a full set like right out of the gate and then also the uncut
Of artist
sheets.
proofs?
Yeah. There's
What?
4 sets of artist proofs, blank backs, so there's no art on them, but it's still pretty freaking amazing. And then there was
Yeah.
like and then it also like a set of the foil uncut sheets. So between like the artist proofs plus the foil sheets, I have like a master set without having to open any boxes. So I was like, do I really need to have the cards too? Like unless I'm gonna play the game, I would just buy the beta cards to play though, right? So,
Oh man.
so
Oh wait,
yeah,
hold on. So you had something going on in your channel where like you kind of like you have like a full foil set, correct?
that one I have is like a consignment deal, so I'm going to be auctioning that actually. So I'll
The
write
whole thing?
the whole set. Yeah, it's going to be pretty wild because it's like absurdly expensive. And like I don't know if you've been tracking as a player like the pricing on Alpha, but like
Yeah.
there's all this. I did a live like 2 days ago because there's all this speculation basically, different opinions on whether some cards were short printed or not in Alpha. So there's
Hmm.
like I through like all the things I do, I've made a lot of connections and networked with a ton of people. So I know a lot of the people that are doing like breaks, whatnot breaks, or like single sellers and stuff like that. So we talk, and they give me data, and they're like, dude, I opened like close to 2,000 boxes, and I pulled like two or three maybe backstabs and devil's egg, but I have like a dozen of every other foil,
Huh.
So like it seems that's like pretty compelling anecdotal evidence for one. And then I think Eric being like a hardcore collector, that like it seems like him that he would it wouldn't be enough that there's only 248 foils. Like if you also short print a couple of the foils, that could, depending how much they're short printed, that could dramatically reduce the number of full master sets that are possible to collect, or foil sets.
Right.
So I think there's like, and then there's like talk about these beta boxes, right? Because well, actually, there was a few other things. There were like the smokestacks, I think, was the card where people weren't pulling those at first, but then these boxes started showing up in Asia, and like it seemed like people were finding them. And now in beta, there was like obviously the first distribution wave that sold out very quick, and then the Team Covenant had it for like 5-6 months, and they just recently sold out. But now boxes are emerging, like pretty good quantity of them, and it seems like mostly overseas. So, like Simon announced that they're going to do targeted distribution to underserved markets and this and that, and I think he said like Europe, Asia, and maybe South America or something. So, in certain places in Asia, it seems like they have boxes all of a sudden, and then there was like how the blink card had the Blizzard game mechanic on it, the misprint.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you heard about that. So now there's like a version of blink showing up that is corrected, which would
Hmm.
indicate that the second wave is already out there on the streets. And like Simon just talked about that in a video release like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. So it's not like they could turn around a print from China and get it distributed in 2 weeks. This must have been, I think, in the works for several months, and they were kind of just keeping it close held or being a little coy about it until, because they've had some challenges with distribution. I think like they probably were working that, and he was choosing. Simon's clever, man. He chooses his words carefully when he does these like video appearances. So he'd come on and
Okay.
he'd be like, "Oh, we don't have plans to like reprint right now," or he'd avoid the word reprint, I think, generally speaking, but. Like you'd kind of dance around it and say like right now you'd use like specific words. Right now we're not doing it, but we reserve the right to if we see a need or like for whatever reasons, right? They always caveat that they could change their mind. So it's always kind of like
So
uncertain with
interesting.
sorcery. But so I think it's been in the works for a while, and they just weren't telling like the timing and the dates, and probably working it through like whatever Asian distribution companies out there. But they're showing up,
Is
and you have the corrected blank now. And then I saw some cards today that have different colors, distinctly different print quality. Like I hesitate to call it quality, but like it's very clear that the cards look different in terms of like the
hmm,
color saturation. You could tell very
interesting.
clearly one versus the other. And I'm not, there was like this Philo scam card that emerged that was sold on TCG Player. It's not that. It was like another regular typical card, and it showed the full art back, and they looked like distinctly different. You could definitely tell that the second
Interesting.
wave, I don't know if that's indicative of all the second wave. I haven't seen enough of it yet, but that's a question people are asking. Is there a way to tell between first wave or second wave? Like personally, I don't think that matters outside of the fact that if for two things, if there's cards that were fixed like blank, that's interesting because there's going to be less quantity of those, especially if he truly is a limited print, as Simon says. There'll be like a smaller pop of corrected blanks versus the blinkzard or whatever the hell they call it, the blink blizzard error. And
Right.
the second aspect is, I bet Eric in a second wave would probably short print some cards and maybe different cards just to toy with
Right.
people.
Oh, so you're
you
saying that
know,
they probably short printed in the second wave?
Maybe. Like I don't have any evidence of that. I'm just saying like I think that is a possibility of something he might do, because I think like from all the evidence I've seen of how he thinks, how he operates, and some of the things they've done, I think he tries to like beyond just the aspect of having more cards available for players. I think he's trying to preserve valuation and an element of collectability, and that would be one way to do that, either by short printing it, or maybe even like the corrected blink cards could be short printed, because you really need a foil blink card. I mean, it should be fine you can play with the regular version, right? Do you find people
Right.
playing with all foil decks like pretty regularly, or is that an anomaly?
I've I've seen like some people play like a mixture, like they'll just only
Yeah.
play like with the foils they have. But I did find this one dude who came and played with an all foil Pathfinder deck. Man, that thing was crazy, dude.
Yeah. Have you ever seen anyone play with the full art side, or is it just foils, the actual game mechanic side,
I
foil side?
haven't, but like I've
Yeah.
always wanted a deck like that. Like, can you just imagine just having it all full art?
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
At least like it seems like it could be viable. Like maybe if you had a rule where like only your Atlas deck was the full art side, and you played just the Atlas sites full art, and you played the spell cards with foil, since those are typically like the minions that go over top of the sites. And the sites, like I feel like, do you feel like with the sites, people generally know what each one does? They don't need to like look at it and reference it. I'm sure like after you get experience, you kind of know, right? But they're not as dynamic typically as they have a Genesis effect sometimes, but they're not as dynamic as like a minion that might have like a effect that procs each turn, or has like a tick down timer type effect, or things like that, right?
No, yeah, you're totally right. I feel as
Yeah,
though never count your chickens before they hatch, because I feel like honestly people would still ask to read the card.
sure.
That
Yeah,
would probably be like the only like downside, but I feel like you're kind of correct. Like for the most part, like the Atlas is pretty widespread at this point, at least for players who have been playing for a while.
yeah,
So I don't know. That is a very good question. I feel as though I would remember most of the Atlas. There has been like some sites where like I haven't seen them because like people just probably don't play them as much.
hmm,
Those will probably be the cards I'll be worried about because it is a huge card pool. There are a lot of cards.
yeah, yeah. What do you think about, so like you have a primary deck, right? So are
Yeah.
you finding, do you experiment with other decks a lot, or are you finding that the, even if you weren't, like the large card pool could mean there's many ways to potentially optimize your deck, right? Or is it pretty limited by element type, where it's not, you play multi-element though, so maybe it is for you,
Yeah,
right?
I actually, even still today, I'm making edits to my deck.
Okay.
Even though I just posted a deck tech for the Elemental Throne, I'm probably just going to upload another one because I did edit the deck a little bit. Spoilers, everyone. But yeah, like I think as the game goes on, there's always room for improvement for sure.
Yeah.
And right now, because there is a big card pool, um, there's like I mean I don't know, there's some people who are still creating new decks now, like that spirit deck that I was just referencing earlier, the one that won the qualifier. I don't think a lot of people would have ever expect spirits to win a tournament, at least for me. So the
Hmm.
fact that someone came to the tournament with a fresh brand new deck,
Yeah.
that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
I feel as though with my deck, it's kind of in that category where it's my personal deck, and you're always going to have that player that has like either a meta deck or their own personal deck.
Hmm.
I admire the people that have their own personal deck because, I mean, just play the cards that you want to play. That's actually how I built the Elemental Throne deck. I just simply built it
Yeah.
off cards that I loved. I made slight edits to counteract the meta, and
Hmm.
that was it. that's
Yeah.
that's why the deck's pretty popular now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that it's like mainstream popular. So like if you go, do you play mostly at your own LGS, or have you ventured out to other locations to kind of
So
like, I'm
far,
wondering
just
if you had opportunity to test it against like brand
yeah,
new people you don't know, and how it holds
I've
up.
uh, I've definitely tested it on Tabletop Simulator with like a few random people that just offered to play me. They're like, "Hey,
Oh, okay.
saw your channel. You want to like maybe hop on and test play?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And they're like, "Oh, I got this deck. Can you use your Elemental Throne deck?" I was like, "Sure, yeah, why not?" And then
Yeah.
like I played them.
Nice.
They were like, "Oh, I know what your deck does. I'm ready to shut it down." I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's play it out." 12 games later, they're like, "Come on, just one more, one more." I'm like, "Oh man, come on. I'm tired
Yeah.
at that point." But
Yeah, I mean the secret sauce is that it's versatile, right? Like if you can yeah, if it's well tuned, you can like get minions out at good value. That's how basically how most games work. You get a value advantage, right? And then you get some kind of strategic advantage over them, and you got a second win condition, which is pretty cool. How often does that actually work out, where you're winning because of the throne itself? Do you not pull it much
Honestly,
because it's a unique?
it does take a little bit of time to get to. Sometimes I'll draw it in my opening hand and I'll just commit the entire game strategy to it.
Okay.
There were times where I played Pact with the Devil and I drew into it and I was like, oh sweet, I'm just gonna, just go off with it as best as I can. But
Hmm.
yes, most of the time, when Throne isn't around, I'm just trying to get as much value as I can. So
Yeah.
removing minions on the board that are relevant. I'm trying to keep more cards in my hand than my opponent all the time. Because if I have more cards, I have more options. And if I'm pacing the game, like if one card can get rid of two cards, eventually I'm going to gain like a huge advantage because they're running out of the cards to use. And I
Yeah.
can use like one card to take care of like five different cards.
Hmm.
So, the value is definitely in the card engine. Like I think that's what really like makes the deck like excel because with the
Yeah.
card engine, I mean, you
Hmm.
just can do anything from that.
Are there? I thought it was pretty limited, like the number of cards you could use to for card draw and tutoring mechanics and stuff like that. Is there enough support in the alpha to support an archetype like that?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Given the fact that I have a four element deck, that's really the
Uh,
benefit as well.
yeah.
So one example is Highland Princess. A
Hmm.
lot of people have been playing Highland Princess, but get this little fun fact about Highland Princess is that only the Elementalist decks can really outpower it on turn one.
Hmm.
I'm sure other decks probably can, but they have to do a lot. Like here, check out this example, right? So
Yeah.
Elementalist provides one of each threshold. Let's say on my
Hmm.
first turn, I play a tower. That generates me two mana. But
Yeah.
the problem is usually when people are going first is that they don't have two threshold. There isn't a site that produces two threshold. So the
Hmm.
Elementalist can actually give you the extra threshold so you can play the Highland Princess turn one,
Hmm.
fetch out a
Nice.
Philo Stone. So already
Yeah.
on my first turn, I've already established my domain. I've gotten a very powerful mana rock and my deck's on its way to just excel. But
Hmm.
other decks, they can't really do that. And I'm not saying that that combo is like groundbreaking or anything, but
Yeah.
it gives my deck an extra advantage when I'm able to search out powerful cards like that early in the game. Um,
Yeah.
Another good thing is this is actually a combo I discovered. So with the Geistwood, it says all Genesis abilities become Deathrite abilities. So anything that enters play, if it dies, it gets its activation trigger again. So I found out that if you play Grandmaster Wizard on the Geistwood, the Grandmaster Wizard is going to draw you three cards. But if you
Hmm.
play Pact with the Devil and sacrifice the Grandmaster Wizard as its cost, you'll draw three again from the Pact with the Devil. But because the Grandmaster Wizard died on the Geistwood, you'll draw another three cards. So that's nine cards with
Damn.
just those three cards. It's
Wow.
insane value.
Yeah. There's no like hand size limit in sorcery or
Nope.
anything
And I
like that.
love that about the game. There's no
Yeah.
hand size.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
because
yeah.
other games like if you exceed it, you got to burn cards, right? Like I don't know. I think Hearthstone was like that. Like there's a digitally the cards just start evaporating.
Yeah, I
They
know
go up in
Magic the
flames.
Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh certainly have that, but I
Yeah.
love Sorcery just for the fact that it lets you keep all the cards in your hand. You don't have to lose anything or make extra decisions on what to keep, what to lose. And it's also really good now because when you play Sorcery, for me personally, one of the things I hated about Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh is that players can still play their deck on your turn. And sometimes when I'm just trying to play it like a land down or whatever, like they're like, "Oh wait, hold on, I'm still comboing off on your turn." I'm like, "Okay, I'll just
Yeah.
wait here. 20 minutes later, I'll finally play my land," and that's kind
Uh-huh.
of like not fun. I mean, it's the name of the
Mm.
game, but it's not fun. So
Yeah.
sorcery, you can have as many cards as you want at the end phase of your turn. And the best part is when you take your turn, you don't have to worry about your opponent doing anything on your turn for the
Uh-huh.
most part.
Yeah, is that so what's the deal with like counterspell? That seems like very polarizing or the you're explaining the quick mechanic generically or if you're I'm sure you're familiar with that before Alpha
Yeah.
came out where they had those quick cards you could play on your opponent's turn, but with
Yeah.
like counterspells in particular, that's a very polarizing topic on the Facebook group. People are like, "Ah, no," like cuz there was I have them in this box up here. I could show you later if you want, but they
For
had
sure.
the and you're familiar too from the playtest cards. There were
Yep.
some that were like even pre-playtest, but they had a counter spell, one at each rarity. So they could only counter cards of equal rarity. So there's an ordinary counter spell. They could only counter ordinary spells and etc. for exceptional, elite, and unique. But yeah, people don't even want to hear it. They're like, nah, don't mess with my turn. Is it because it like slows things down, or is it they just like having full control to mastermind their full turn through the end phase?
It's definitely a matter of control.
Yeah.
Which, for me personally, it's kind of a 50-50 at the moment. Because right now, I like the fact that there aren't cards that can interact on my turn, which is great. But I have taken a look at those counter spells, and I do like the idea how the rarity only counters a rarity.
Yeah.
So if you have a unique counter spell, that's only going to counter a unique spell, and you have to draw that one copy just to counter your opponent's unique. Who's to say that they're going to even enter a tournament with an all ordinary deck? And I've experienced that before,
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty limiting and narrow use case. So I don't know. I got the impression that I don't know if it was. I got the impression that they in playtest they just couldn't get it to work quite how they wanted it to, like with the quick mechanic in general. I don't know. That was like an aspect of it. I'm not sure how much it's weighted towards that, or the fact that I think they wanted also to kind of simplify the game for the initial release in a way where like you're responsible only for your turn. Like you make moves on your turn, then you're in receive mode, and then you kind of react on your opponent's turn. Once you start having to like interplay on your opponent's turn, it just further complicates things. Especially in the early days, people are trying to learn what the hell their cards do, and then you're like, you're countering their stuff like as they're trying to think through like what they even want to play. Right, it becomes problematic.
Now, I would say that one thing that I think if they ever did print the counter spells, which honestly, I kind of hope that they don't until like later on in the game, at least so we can get enough data to see if it's healthy for the game or not. Yeah. But one thing that would honestly make them too good is sideboards. Because if you're playing with sideboards, and thankfully my local game store hasn't been playing with sideboards, but they've discussed it. If there are sideboards in between games, and if your opponent knows what you're playing, I feel as though those counter spell cards could get out of hand. Like if you know that their best cards are like an exceptional rarity, playing 3 copies of the exceptional counter spell in between games seems like really unfair. I think, honestly,
you could tune it to shut down their whole deck concept, which is shitty for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there is like sideboard strategy, I guess, because if you're choosing to include cards like that, it comes at the expense. Like, I don't know, are there rules with sideboarding that you could only have so many cards in your sideboard options, like for tournament play?
I know
typically
that
with other games.
Yeah, so with Magic, you usually have 15 cards. Actually, even with Yu-Gi-Oh, you have 15 cards. Some people in the Discord group, they've played tournaments where they allowed the sideboard, or even on Tabletop Simulator, also 15 cards. And of course, you have to stick by the rarity restriction. You can only have 3 exceptionals, 1 unique, etc. But I think even with 15 cards, though, I feel as though like there's enough cards, especially right now, to build a solid sideboard where you can basically go up against anything. So I feel as though right now the sideboard mechanic would be great. But if they did make those counter spells, or if they did make particularly strong cards that counteract certain strategies, that's where it gets a little complicated and a little too good.
Right. Yep. Nah, that makes perfect sense. So, yeah, cool, man. So, how's your what do you think your like win percentage is roughly with that deck?
Oh, man, dude, I was literally undefeated until literally, like I kid you not, man. I was going undefeated everywhere, man. Like I did not lose anything. But just recently, I did actually lose my winning streak. It was very humbling because I went 4-0. And like if I would have won, I still would have had the undefeated streak. But that one deck barely got me. And, it was such a close game that I was like, you know what? Like, it's okay, man. It happens. And it was such a good game that I was like, you know what? That's all I care about. I just want to play a good game, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Like if you find a way to, because they changed the the guidelines for the courtesan, right? Like you don't have to qualify to like actually get in the main event. You could actually pay, like buy a ticket to get in. I thought Ron was saying he'll have to clarify sometime. But nevertheless, there's going to be all types of tournaments there, right? Like other things, even if you're not going for the top prize. And I don't. Has he announced? Have you been following like the announcements for the courtesan, like what the top prize is?
Uh, I think from what I remember, I thought it was like an actual foil alpha courtesan Thias, but there could be like
Yeah,
more because I
there
don't know.
was.
They could always just add it in last minute.
Yeah, I was confused if that was like just Louis' qualifier, but I think like I guess I don't want to say it prematurely, but he's shown me on the side, and I wasn't sure if he like revealed it just yet, but he's got some like pretty nice prize support. He's got like something really
Okay.
awesome that he had done, similar to some of the other major events. So yeah, he's got all kinds of creative ideas, and there's going to be I guess while we're on the topic, like, all the artists that are going, Truett Parrish, first appearance, Drew Tucker, Jeff Menges, those guys go to a lot of shows. So
Oh
people
yeah.
often see them at all kinds of things. And who else going? Tony Sudlow, he's a guy you don't get to see too often. He goes to GaryCon, but doesn't really do a lot of other shows. And Alan Pollock, who, yeah, is kind of hit or miss too, because he's been out of, he did a lot of Magic stuff early on, but it's been like quite a while. So he's been going to the IX Art Show up in Pennsylvania in October, last 2 years. But otherwise, yeah, he's kind of hit or miss too. So it's a great opportunity to see what 5 or 6 sorcery artists. I think Ron said publicly that Matthias Frisk is coming, but he's not going to be at a table, like running a table. He's going to be playing and hanging out. So
Oh really? That's kind of
yeah,
cool.
yeah, he's the man. We've been talking. He's gonna bring some stuff too, like prints and different things. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, he'll
Nice.
be coming. So there's gonna be 6. I think he makes 6 sorcery artists, and then couple altarists will be there, and I'll be there. I'm actually gonna have a table myself, and I'm working with like a lot of the artists that I work with to like say like, hey, I could showcase your stuff. I'll sell it there. So there's going to be like a wide variety of art, like even beyond those 6 artists, like a lot of the European artists represented in a way. People won't get to meet them, but at least I'll get to like show their work, which is awesome because you see it like on the Facebook group or in the Discords. It's never the same looking at a picture as seeing the real thing. And on
For
that
sure.
note, there's going to be paintings there too, which is unbelievable too. Because a lot of people don't get to see paintings that often. So I know like some of the other community members are bringing some that are like into art collectors, and then I'm probably gonna bring a few. Like people are peer pressuring me to bring the avatar and some other stuff. I was kind of nervous about it because it's like it's an oil on canvas, so it doesn't have a glass protective layer. So I don't
Hmm.
want people getting too close.
Right. Gotta protect the
Yeah,
merchandise.
I was thinking about like getting a easel or something and putting it behind my table. See, Frenchie said don't do it. He knows. He's an art collector. It's a big risk, man, because it's valuable. And then there's like, I think Ron's gonna have stuff insured, but you never know. Like things could happen or something could get stolen or something.
Right,
It's
right.
precious, dude. It's like paintings are one of ones that you really don't want to mess around with. But yeah. Some people have wives that won't let them go. Says Dan. Yeah,
Huh.
Dan's on the West Coast. There's a guy that told me he like just messaged me out of the blue and said like he watches my channel and some of my stuff, and he's like from Russia. I think he said he's coming from Russia, which is like amazing.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
wild because
long
like
trip.
yeah, and it's like it's tough and like I don't know. He was telling me that like what did he say? I think he said he like got into a lot of different indie TCGs and stuff, and he was just like really enthralled with sorcery, and he wants to like play it and collect it. But Russia's like in a bad spot right now. It's really hard to like get stuff imported there, even like to like buy cards online or buy anything online to ship stuff in and out is problematic. There's sanctions and regulations and stuff, so
Dang.
he's gonna come here and try to like load up while he can while he's in country.
That's
But
a
it must be
good
tough, man.
deal.
I empathize with people like that. Even in Europe, where supply's been choked out, like they got to pay a lot of money just to get the basic stuff that we take for granted, like cheap beta cards or cheap beta boxes and stuff, just to play. Let alone collect some of the more premium fun stuff.
Yeah, and
So,
I have noticed that some people, even at my LGS, they were kind of complaining on like the shortages for beta. And I know that you said like there was supposed to be like another wave coming, or maybe it's already distributing. Um, but what are your thoughts on how long it's going to take for beta to like actually sold out?
um, well, it's shot in the dark because we don't know like how much more they printed. I mean, Simon generically called it limited, and I think just to kind of put the market's mind at ease, but it's a very generic and vague term, you know. Like it's relative. Like I don't know what's if they printed like 200,000 boxes, then like another 50,000 is pretty limited by
Yeah, true.
comparison. If they printed like 60,000, then maybe another 5,000 or something is limited. So it really that term means absolutely nothing. Like we'd be
Yeah,
guessing, but it
that's
seems
fair.
like since they're targeting distribution in certain regions, it might be generally like immaterial potentially, unless like those distributors in Europe just don't serve their local market and decide to just go sell it online to singles or breakers or something, right? Single sellers or breakers, which are sometimes one and the same. But yeah, so I don't know. I'd just be like blind guessing, but I think they're. I was surprised that like it seems like it's already out there because there's evidence of it with these corrected blink cards. That has to be a second wave, unless like mysteriously they fix it somewhere along the way of print one and they found their way into like distributors' hands in wherever Asia and they just sat on it because there wasn't like demand for it locally, which very well could be the case as well because it's a tiny market. If you look at the Kickstarter numbers, I mean, outside of the U.S., very very small numbers everywhere. Even though like the Europeans, the international market's super passionate, but they didn't. There wasn't like large backers at the Kickstarter level from those regions, so it's harder to get
Right.
traction. But yeah, so I don't know. Like some people think that maybe like some of these Asian distributors or like people that speculated early and bought a ton just sat on it, and especially like when beta came out because alpha did so well, they probably since alpha did so well, it encourages speculators to run wild on beta. So I think it is plausible and kind of logical that maybe more people speculated on beta even overseas and got as much as they could, and they actually got decent allocation. But then they sat on it and waited for the U.S. market to fatigue, knowing that like supply was kind of monopolized through Team Covenant. So there was like two schools of thought with Covenant. Like one, they had endless supply, or secondly, they were going to run out inevitably. So if you're sitting on like a pallet of boxes or whatever, hundreds or thousands of them, you're going to wait for the monopoly to get choked out and then like wait for that very predictable spike and then put them on the market when prices double, right? It's kind of, it almost
Right.
makes the manipulation or speculation, it's not really manipulation, it's more speculation, but it makes it more predictable. Just like when they came out with the 29,000 print for alpha and then they told us like what the pull rates are, it became like pretty predictable that the alphas were going to have extreme valuation and that like once people start set collecting, they were going to either like spend whatever to complete the set or just give up, and there'd be very limited sets and just very illiquid and limited supply, which just really makes the prices go wild. So yeah, so I think we're seeing that too. I'm seeing more and more people that are saying like, "Hey, I got like almost a full set except like 20 cards," and then it's like the A9 and like the Frizettas, you know, are the cards they're missing. So they're only
Right.
like 20 grand away from the full set, right? But and like some are just like coming to market and saying they're trying to like liquidate their collections and say, "Hey, I was going for the alpha set, I couldn't quite get there." It's just like I'm starting to come to grips with reality. The prices just got nuts, and I can't afford like even the backstab card, which is I heard there was a sale for $2,300 on backstab recently,
I
which
saw
is
that too.
insane.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, because it's short
Honestly.
printed. I mean, it's like or like anecdotally at minimum, it seems to be short printed. Like or like there's some people that think I talked about this a couple days ago that like a group of people colluded on like and went hard, bought out like two select cards, and then went to this like our small social media world and started pushing this narrative that they were short printed. But it's easily countered by the fact that people that are opening at scale are finding everything except those two cards, right? That is
Wow.
what really is the compelling evidence in my mind, and the fact that
That
it is
would take
something that
like
Eric would do, I think.
really? That's
Yeah.
crazy to even just fathom that. I mean,
Yeah.
now that you're presenting it to me, I guess it does make sense. Like I could definitely believe the possibility of that. But
Yeah.
like if someone was actually doing that, that's crazy.
What, trying to
Actually,
manipulate the market? Or do you
yeah,
mean
or
short
just
printing?
like even, well, I guess yeah, manipulating for sure. Because
Yeah.
wasn't there someone like you may know this, but like a long time ago, I think like someone was trying to buy out all the Frazetta Vile Imps from TCG
Uh,
Player.
I don't know. I mean, there's so little inventory on TCG Player that like buyouts don't really mean anything. Because like if you go look at any given high end card, it's pretty rare you find more than like even like 5 to 10 would be surprising, especially on some of the really rare ones or high end ones, or like the backstab and Devil's Egg. You never even find those anywhere. And people
True.
put bounties out saying like I'll pay a crazy money, and no one comes forward with it. They don't want to sell it. So I think like there's just not enough supply and inventory because of the extreme pull rates of the foils that it's even viable really to do a targeted buyout. It's almost kind of like a moot point because there's just not that many of them anyway. A lot of them are sitting in sealed products somewhere. So to have like a complete foil set is like unreal. You know, there's very few
Right.
people that'll get there, especially as it gets more and more expensive.
Is that foil set that you have is by any chance is it just all alpha or is it like a mixture of alpha
Yeah.
and beta?
No, it's all alpha, man. Every alpha foil. Yeah.
Holy
It's
crap.
pretty insane. Yeah. Just to like I do like a lot of consignment type stuff, and like even just like selling for the artist is amazing because I get to see so many paintings in person. Like even that alone is extremely gratifying and fun just because it's such a
I
rare
imagine.
opportunity. Yeah, I was like talking with Eric one day a long while back, and he was like, besides myself, I think you're probably definitely the person that's seen the most original paintings in like the whole
Wow.
world, you know? Because like how else would they? You just can't do it. It's so disaggregated because you have artists all over the world, and even he himself. I might have like he has a massive collection himself. That's the only outlier that makes it true that he has seen more than me because he owns so many. But like I have seen so many paintings that he's never seen in person, even himself, because he commissioned them and the artists own the copyright. They own the painting. They only send him a scanned image. You know, it's not like he's even laid eyes on every original. So it's pretty awesome and unique. And a lot of people out there who own original paintings, they own paintings that even Eric, the game creator, has never seen. And I guess that's probably true of a lot of games, you know, because they fall into the hands of individuals. But it's just a wild thought. And it's like so awesome to see them in person because they're all so different, the styles, the mediums. Um, and they look like sometimes they just look so different from the card, or you
Oh,
notice things. I mean, I started noticing when I started doing my website and looking at all the artists' social media and doing the full art page that I did,
hmm.
that their paintings, like their image scan of the paintings, was very oftentimes different than the what it looked like on the card. Like it was inverted horizontally left to right, or sometimes vertically, or sometimes both. Like if you look at the Keith era mechanism, it was the way it's painted, it's inverted north to south and east to west. So it was like double inverted. So on the
Is it
card,
really?
yeah, on the card it's different than the painting. Like it's just different. It's
Huh.
cool. Yeah.
I
There's
didn't even
that,
know
and I
that.
think what is the let me go to the web page here. On the Seagrave card with the what did they end up calling the Witch card by Seagrave? He changed the name of it, so I can't even remember now. Sometimes I remember like the first name of it and then not the alpha name change because I don't
Oh,
look at the card a lot. Let me see.
the Wicked Witch.
Yeah, no, actually, I think it was I think it was Scavenging Fiend. In the original painting, I'm pretty sure that the monster is going right to left instead of left to right. It's either that. I'm pretty sure it's that. I was thinking because Wicked Witch has that similar orientation of left to right. But let me see here. Let me pull up the. Let me see if I what happens when I pull up the screen. Yeah, it's pretty. There's a lot of examples like this where Eric Maines did some tuning to the way it looks on the card. Like if you look at the one I was talking about, if we go to Severance page here, and take a look at, see how Key Theorem Mechanism, can you see that well on your side? Like it has
Yes,
like
sir.
the blue eye up here and the leaf
Uh-huh.
thing kind of going up this way. So if I
Right,
go
right.
to, let me find the original here. That's typically if I go to the Facebook group, I'll and just do a search, it comes up. Yeah, so there's the card again with the leaf to the left. Let me go to posted by me to kind of filter it a bit. I know I've shared the original painting in here a few times. Oh, actually, oh no, that was the, oh, here you go. Here's the original painting, right? So you see the blue
Oh
eyes at the
wow.
bottom?
Yeah.
I got the Brahms in the way. But like the leaf thing is down here. So like it was inverted like north to south here. So you have the blue eye up here, but then
Mhm.
if you did only that, I think yeah, if you just like inverted it like this, the leaf would be going off to the right. So then you also inverted it left to right, and this like leaf, this leaf thing goes to the left. Back looking at the card. See how it goes to the left? So he
Yeah.
inverted it top to bottom and left to right on that particular one. And then the
Wow.
Seagrave, I thought I could have sworn the Seagrave too. The thing was, when I posted it, I'm not sure that it was called Scavenging Fiend. It's been a while. Let me see if I could find that. Or I'll just search for Seagrave, actually. Should come up. Alright. There's the original for Gilded Aegis.
Some
I
nice
got that at
card.
the framer, yeah. That one's awesome. So here's some of the, let's see, is it in this slot here? There's the Witch. So that one does go left to right. That's the original of the Wicked Witch. Where did I see the, actually, you know what? I could probably just go to the full art page. I don't know if this bores you here. I think it's pretty interesting. There's all these little nuanced findings. Yeah, so on the full art page, and this is alphabetical, so it won't take too long. All right, so Wicked Witch does go left to right. And then, where's the Scavenging Fiend? Yeah, see? Look at this. Right to left. And then if you go, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's the original painting. Do you have the card handy?
Oh yeah, I have one somewhere in here. What is it? An exceptional or an elite? I think it's an exceptional. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. Huh? Would you look at that? Hold on, let me hold it up to the camera, obviously, so everyone can see.
Yeah.
Look at
Some,
that. And
some very
mine's not like my camera's not mirrored. Like this is
yeah.
wow, that's so cool. I'm actually impressed, Mike. Like that's probably
Yeah.
a benefit that you have with just seeing all the original paintings. You're probably better at like pointing out curios and stuff because of that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I saw like a lot of the sketches early on. Like I had a hunch that he might use the elemental avatar sketches because they were so like nicely done. They looked like they're real pretty detailed, like the Eric's Curiosa. You know, like they look like they could stand alone. And then those ended up being Curios for beta, which was really awesome. So yeah, interesting stuff, man.
You know, what do you predict will like? Do you think Arthurian Legends will have curios? Like, you think that's just going to be a repeating pattern for sorcery?
Yeah, I think they'll stick with it because I think they're pretty happy with the effect it's had. I mean, it was kind of twofold. They wanted to capture the old school throwback 90s. You're probably much younger than me, but in the 90s, like pre-internet era, it was basically like infancy of the internet. Kind of at that stage, it wasn't like quite as matured. So people had the old school Scry magazine and we would like literally go to the magazines for a price reference. You couldn't people wouldn't really buy cards online as much, and just to discover the set list, you would go to a magazine and you get the set list. But like really, it was pretty small scale. So you would discover what the cards were by opening the boxes and the packs, or going to your buddy's house. They would open different cards, and you just kind of discover it organically. It wasn't like you instantly had all these spoilers, and then you on day one knew every single card in the set as people showed it on Facebook or Discord.
Right.
So the Curios solved that problem as like a really creative way to kind of like invoke that sentiment and that throwback type of vibe because we didn't know what they would be. And they're so rare that like even we were discovering them like weeks into alpha release still. You know, it's not like, again, like we probably discovered the entire set because not all, some, they held back some number of cards from alpha. I want to say it wasn't like a huge amount by the time it was all said and done because of the delays, like more and more kind of started bleeding through. But it was probably like 20 to 30 or so. Like, I don't know that there was a lot of like core alpha cards that were like never seen before. We either saw the artwork or we saw like an early playtest version of the cards. So there weren't a ton of surprises in that regard. So really the Curio was the big surprise aspect. So we quickly flushed out and confirmed what the 403 cards were in the core set, but the Curios was a discovery experience for like weeks, you know, and it was like, it just causes like exactly what they wanted, like a social media free marketing frenzy, because people go to Discord and Facebook. And it was great for me too, trying to grow this like Facebook community group, you know, because like whenever there's a new release, like the engagement just goes nuts, like on the Facebook group and stuff like that, like because everybody's posting their hits, you know, and that like that persisted for many weeks. And if you look at the activity trends as an admin, it shows you these plots and stuff of people joining the community and like post engagement, how often people are posting, and it just like goes nuts with people showing off all their hot stuff. But the Curios, I think a lot of people didn't, and it took a while to figure out like the troll Curios and some of those like goofier, like subtle ones, you know. Right. So that took a while. Yeah, people are filthy casual said, especially the troll Curios. Yeah, those ones like we didn't know about those for quite a while. Are you into Curios at all as like a player / more casual collector? What do you think of Curios?
I like them. I mean, just like what you said too, I think it brings in that like surprise element into the game, something that's just not going to be spoiled, and you know it's special when you see it. Whether if it just looks kind of off to you and you're like, wait a second, like, and then you notice those tiny little details and you're like, oh wait, crap, I think I just pulled a Curio. So yeah, I definitely like that aspect, and I hope that they just continue on with that in every set. Sorcery can definitely just bank off of them, like in terms of just like, you know, success for the company, but also as like collectors as well. You know, if you have those Curios, then that's certainly like a good rarity for the collection. Actually, I haven't seen any people like place them in tournament, because I think that there are like some Curios that are playable for sure.
Yeah, they're like, I'm trying to think. I forget if it's, let me go back here really quick. If like the Wind Blast, is that the game mechanic? I'm trying to remember off the cuff if it was 1-for-1 with the game mechanic. So if we go to go to Alpha Curio page. I mean, a lot of them had like these old school things that don't exist anymore. Obviously the 9-piece. I love this freaking 9-piece. I know, like some people, it's a love-hate type thing.
I remember when that first came out, I thought it was a joke. I was just like, no, that's just not a real card. Like, it's totally fake. But I think that's really cool.
When it was first, I have this video short that got like, I got swept up in the algorithm somehow, and it got like 10,000 views. But I'm talking about like my experience with this 9-piece card, and there was like, I was asking this guy, it was like I think it was the very first one that was discovered, and I was like, dude, I need like a good picture of that card, because you see it like this, right, and you can't read what the hell's on there. Like some of these, it's very blurry and obscured, and he was like sending me, even like on the real card, some of the text is a little hard to make out, and I was like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? I was like, you can't like find like a light bulb in your house, or like you can't like just go outside with some natural lighting and like get a good clean image of that freaking card. Right. And then like I thought it was just like 9 cards, and he was like just like he had no freaking clue, like he had an old school BlackBerry or something, or he didn't understand like basic lighting on how to get a good picture. And I was like, dude, send me more pictures, zoom in a little bit, like do this, do that. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm trying my best, he was like a real nice guy. He was like, yeah, I'm trying to get a good one. And then I was like, is it 1 card or is it 9 card? Even that was like not clear. I was like, why are you sending me all these cards? And like, why, like, can't you just get a good picture of any one of them? So then like we figured out it actually was 9. And then he was like really trying like under all lighting angles and like to get as clean image as he could. Cause like what I was trying to do was make out what the type line text said. Cause a lot of that had changes. Like the Thunderbolt here says quick something or other. It's actually kind of hard to see, but it had that quick mechanic, right? So this used to be a card you could play on your opponent's turn. And it had like the Roman numeral details for casting cost and different symbols. And so what I did is like, if you look at the artist here, it was pretty convenient because it's Vincent Pompetti's an artist that I work with, and Elvira Palakowska, Mikhail Nagy, Paul, Severin Pinu, and Francesca Berald, you know. So I knew all of them very well. And Asi Haikala as well. I interviewed him. But like Dan Seagrave's a little harder to get a hold of. That was the only outlier in this scenario. Like the other 8 of them, like those are artists that I've gotten to know very well and talk to a lot. So I was trying to get a good picture so I could reach out to them. I wanted to write an article about it and explain the history between those 9 cards and the different symbology, or, you know, what was the art direction they got, or why is it a curio in some cases? Like, because when you look at it, I think my first question was like, is there anything special about any of these artworks? Like, why do you think he selected these 9 to make a 9-piece curio card? And even that has not been completely investigated or like proven, like why these 9, you know. Like I think like there's some different, I actually did write let me see, I wrote a detailed article about this. I don't want to go off too far of it on a tangent, but like I really tried hard to figure out like why he would select these 9, because it wasn't like a different artist in every case, and it wasn't like a one-to-one mapping of the uncut sheet could be a reason why you would do that. It was like, I don't know. There's different aspects to it. Like if you really break it down, like the Elemental Avatar was one of the first 4 iconic avatars, right? Why Avatar of Fire, not another one? I don't know if there's something to that, but something pretty interesting is it says like Fire Maiden on it, you know. And when I talked to Severin, she would call all of her avatars the maiden, the Fire Maiden, or the,
oh, wow,
you know, that. So I think those were the names that he used to commission the art from her, or that she used, you know, for her template. So that was pretty fascinating. And then like Windmill, I don't know, maybe like couple things on that. This is a portrait style card, you know, so it has that kind of history that it was a portrait format card before he had a fundamental game like in the early days they were all portrait style. They didn't have the horizontal landscape style atlas cards. So that was like a design concept change, because they found that when they were stacking cards on top of each other, if you had it more landscape and wider, it was more conducive for it to be visible and playable. So the Windmill was actually a vertical oriented painting initially, and then it was expanded horizontally. And then I think also that was true of the Tower by Mikhail Nagypal. He actually repainted that. So he has like original images of the 2 differences, and I think I included those in my article. Some of them are a little more difficult, like this Omford Holmganger. That's like, if you look at Angerworm just joined. I was talking crazy shit on you, Angerworm. Someone called you a scumbag.
Angerworm, hold on a second.
Yeah, Angerworm's in the house.
An honor.
He wants a TLDR of the first hour. Yeah, we were upset about the Mix Ignis and why it's not on my back wall right now.
Nice.
But yeah, so like the Holmganger, that's the name of Eric's BGS registry. So I was like, he was like flexing his like he's pretty modest, and like he's usually like a pretty modest guy, you know. But like one day he was like showing his registry on the Discord to his Alpha Magic collection, and he has like the #1 collection in the whole world, like a graded collection. So he has like 9.5 graded Black Lotus and all the Moxes, all the Power 9. Like it's the most insane collection, because like if you look at the BGS registry, it tells you like where it ranks, like how many cards are ranked above yours. And you look at his freaking like, yeah, if you look at his list, they're all like 1s, like the best card in the world, like the best condition rarity card in the world. It's like absolutely mind blowing. So, but long story short, his registry name was Holmganger. So like in early days pre-alpha, he was in the Discord a lot, talking a lot. And he said that so when you asked him questions, he would actually usually respond. Now he's too busy; it's really hard to talk to him at all. But I was asking him, I was like, is there going to be a home ganger card? Like, oh, what does that even mean? Like, so I went and researched that, and it's like this old school Swedish attack style that they did. It's like an old like battle concept basically. And he's like Swedish, so maybe that he just knows the history of that and called his registry that. So he had a card by that title, and he flashed it up in the Discord, and it was this Vincent Pompetti artwork. And I almost bought it. I reached out to Vincent right away, and it was still available. Like, I still regret it to this day, man. Like, hesitating on pulling the trigger. But yeah, that's probably like why this card is there and special to him. And then it also became the first champion promo card with the
That is correct.
with the Innkeeper kit. So some of the others still kind of a mystery though, like why the Blasted Oak from Seagrave. I don't think I ever got a pure answer or theory on that. Same with Polymorph. This one, like Kite Archer, you could see it's pretty blurred. It's called Kite Archer now, but it's like a very different name here. It says something like Storied Sharpshooter. So it had like a Storied Sharpshooter. That's a pretty cool name too. So, but the name's different, and then some of the mechanics and things. But Stormy Seas, that's different. It added a different name as well, but I don't know why that 9. I was always fascinated by that one, and it looks really cool in person.
When I first saw this card, and like obviously I thought it wasn't real until like everyone confirmed it. But have you ever seen like miscut cards like in Magic before?
What do you mean? Is general misprints, miscuts?
Kinda. So like it'll be a card, it'll be cut like a regular card, but because I guess something went wrong with the printer, you'll have multiple cards like on the same cut.
Okay.
And for Magic the Gathering, some tournaments, so there was a huge controversy with it years ago. There was one guy who was playing in a vintage tournament, and he had a miscut card. One of the miscuts, I think, had like a power 9 on it, and it also had like, I think, lightning bolt.
Damn.
So when the guy was playing it in a tournament, he got judge called, and they were like, well, no, you can't play that card. And he's like, well, I registered the card in my deck list before the tournament, and this is the card I'm identifying it as. I'm not like switching it into the Ancestral Recall or Lightning Bolt. It's Ancestral Recall. And some of the judges, like, I don't know if it works in every tournament, but some judges actually allow it. They're like, if you have a miscut card, and if it's a very, like, powerful card or old expensive card you can't get your hands on, some tournaments will just allow it and validate it as an actual playable card. So I thought when I saw that Curio, I was like, oh crap, this is a card that allows you to play 9 different cards. Is that
that would be nuts?
Because can you just imagine? That card would just be insane.
Yeah. You could pick like which ones or like all the effects or something. That would be pretty insane.
That would just be super powerful.
Yep. Yeah, so when I go to this page, we were trying to see if there's any cards that could actually be playable. I mean, you could play with the Sorcerer with the Gridlord back. There's not much. I mean, it would be mostly face down. I love that one too, because like the homage to the old school, like one of the original ideas for the name of the game. Because even like when they were starting to go to, I guess when they first started growing their social media presence, the game was still on the game title. The name of the game was still undecided, and there's like on their Facebook page they were asking people, like, what do you guys think of this or that? There was like 3 different options, variants of like spellcraft, and a couple others. And people were like, it's a little too samey or similar to this game or that game. It was pretty interesting, the feedback.
Interesting.
Yeah, Murder of Crows was just an alternate art, but the mechanics just so different. Mirror Realm, that's one I didn't end up chasing. I thought that was kind of dumb. I don't like these subtle.
I like the concept of that. That's a really dope.
Yeah, I mean, because it's Mirror Realm, I guess it's a little clever, but I don't like the ones that are just like subtle or inverted. Like Adept Illusionist, I think, is a little corny.
I really like the self-same simulacrum inverted. Like, I really want to get my hands on it and just have like the inverted and the regular in one deck. I think that'd be so cool. Kind of like that picture right there.
Yeah, it's just a play on the name. There's no like artistic significance to it,
Right.
What the art wasn't inverted or anything like that. I actually sold that original painting, so I got to see that one in person at one point. Just freaking, that's an amazing painting, man. Elvira's so good.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for sure.
this one I loved because it showed kind of like there's this other aspect, like when you see the original paintings or the scan of the full art,
Right.
you find that like he in a lot of cases he zoomed in on the card to have like a more central focal point of the card. Like,
Mm.
so this is the original, right? But in the this is the alpha card, not the original painting. This one is a little more little better reflects what the original painting is, where it has this shadowed, there's actually two shadowed figures over here. And
Right.
you could actually see it a bit on the card, but I guess he design wise, the shadowed figure is still there, but it's pretty dark and obscured. You probably wouldn't notice it on the card unless you're really looking close or looking for it
Oh
and
man,
knew
you
it was
know what? I
there.
gotta check it now.
Yeah.
Gotta check it.
But it's very prevalent on this other one, which can be distracting from the devil's egg as the central point of the card, right?
I can, yeah. Now that you mention it, I can actually like just barely make it out, but like the
Yeah.
curio for sure, you can like it's hard to miss.
Yep. Yeah, so I think that one, that's why that's a curio. He's making the point that like the original artwork is sometimes a little different than some of the design decisions for the card, the printed card.
You know, actually, this brings up a good topic. So I know that you auction out the Immortal Throne original painting, successful auction, by the way. That was a big number.
Yeah.
Um, but I remembered you posted something like a few days before that where you were asking players, you know, what's your thoughts on the original painting versus when it's actually printed?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, this is kind of a good example. I think like it just gives Eric's Curiosa an excuse almost, or a reason rather, to just have the original painting as a curio. And that's what kind of
Yeah.
just makes it a little bit like more special, you know? So I
Yeah.
kind of like the idea of both.
Like if you imagine if they did a curio, there's Vincent. If they did a curio of the oh, I gotta see who we drafted. Dwayne Carter, defensive tackle for the Bills. All right, nice. The NFL draft's going on. Oh, is it actually? Oh, I screenshotted that. I thought it was like broadcasting live. They changed the algorithm, but yeah. Imagine if they did like a true curio, like in revised or something, of the Immortal Throne painting. So like
That would be
here you
so
go.
cool.
I showed them side by side though. Yeah, I don't know. There might be a better image, but like it's just so much more pink than the grayed out version of the card. But if they did like a print of that as a curio, that would be pretty interesting, right?
That'd be really awesome.
Or like I don't know, he could even do something like pretty cool and interesting where maybe the if he did it like for specific gameplay reasons, you could have a pretty clever idea where you have the facing side have it, I don't want to say altered, but like adjusted for the purposes of the card. Like first, clearly he thought this grade version maybe better represented a card. It looks more cavernous or whatever he was going for, right? But on the back full art side, which people are unlikely to play with, maybe you have the true scan of the original painting.
Oh,
That would be
dude.
pretty sick. Or even if that was I think that he should do that all the time. But if it at least as a curio, that's a great curio concept as well.
I like that idea actually. That gave
Yeah.
me goosebumps a little bit.
I think that'd be pretty clever. We got to get that in his ear, try to influence him. But yeah, a lot of great curios in alpha. I ended up collecting. We were talking about collecting earlier. How I don't have a lot of regular individual cards, but I ended up with like most of the alpha curios, one way or
Nice.
one way or another. Not like I didn't go for the trolls and the mirror realm or the self same or the like the Brahm or the death dealer are like crazy expensive, so I didn't go for those. But like most of the not too insane ones I have, like Belfry. So the Wind Blast, I think. Did this Wind Blast mechanic change, or is this actually playable? Push everything atop sights one step in a cardinal direction. I feel like that is the
I
same,
think that's the
but
same effect. Yeah.
yeah, but the type line text changed a little bit, which doesn't matter, right, for gameplay. So if you go to, like, we could look at it really quick. Oh, I'd have to go to a different page. Let's look at it. on a different tab.
Actually, dang, my bad. I got like this whole book of spells over here.
Yeah, no
Let's
problem.
see.
They changed the title at one point. That was for the sample card, though, I think.
Yeah, so the
Wind
original
Blast.
says
Yeah,
push
push
everything
everything
on
on top.
top,
Slides. One
one
step in a
step in a
cardinal
cardinal
direction.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's no change there. But see, it says exceptional magic of weighty weather. And then the Curio
Huh.
says a whooping gale of exceptional magic. So it's just a type line text. It's also 2 and 1 threshold to cast. Did that change? No, that's the same as well. Yeah. So it's technically playable, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like the ones where like the name or the like I guess like the actual like I guess because Murder of Crows is an example like that doesn't really have like the exact printing of a sorcery card or an official one rather. So like I feel like the Wind Blast, the Self Same, obviously the Braum, and like all the ones that just kept their original effect. I think that you should still play it, um, or at least be able to play it rather. Because I know that some people argued like didn't they do an east west dragon or a west east dragon, like they curioed it and they like
Yeah.
changed the name.
Yeah, from east west to west east. Yeah.
Like some people were arguing like, oh well, you can play like two of the curios and two of the regular, and I was like, bro,
Oh.
that would be
People were
kind
trying
of
to pull
cool
that shit.
though. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, well, they don't acknowledge that Curios exist, so I would assume that all Curios are not tournament legal. Because even
That's
like,
fair.
I mean, that's the problem. Like, if they don't acknowledge that this Windblast Curio is a legitimate sorcery card, then it's like bringing a counterfeit or some. I don't know. It's the same mechanic, so it shouldn't really matter. But it's like it could be considered like a proxy, you know.
True.
Yeah, they can validate that if they validate that it's tournament legal, that would be admitting that it's a curio and that it's part of their set.
I hope they do that. I think that would be
It's all
kind of
part of the
cool.
mystery. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, you
that's
know
an
what?
interesting wrinkle.
I actually had a question for you. So, do you think that some curios, like kind of like that nine face card, do you think that it's
Hmm.
kind of like a sneak peek of sorcery's future?
Um, in what regard?
Well, so okay, Eric's Curiosa, for
I never thought of it.
example, when or I guess like even with the nine image card. So
Yeah.
obviously, I guess there's no like I guess consistent pattern with it, except that like what you were saying, like why these nine cards.
Okay.
Do you ever feel like maybe like there is some sort of ulterior motive to it? Like it actually has some hidden meaning or like glimpse into the
Uh,
future, maybe?
I mean, anything's possible. They couched it as being a historical reference, but I'm trying to think. I think like generally speaking, there are hints at the future. I mean, just in terms of like the natural scalability of some of the cards, and I mean even like the fact that they had royalty in the base alpha set. You know, you had princes, you had Queen of Midland, you had King of the Realm. Like that's a cue that of the Arthurian set, right? Like
True.
those will probably have enhanced value in some way. I mean, even that like round table card that they spoiled. Do you see that one?
Yeah, I
Like
did actually.
yeah, it has its effect when you have what did it say, like knights, maidens,
Knights,
princes, or
yeah.
whatever. It was like a whole series of like types, card types, or character types, or whatever, right? So there you go. Like those cards are going to have enhanced value or like bonus effects from those types of things qualify
True.
for it. But there's like I think there's a lot of stuff like that that's going to be taken in certain direction, especially with like a darker set being hinted at, like heaven and hell, angels and demons type of thing. Like we have demons is like
Oh,
a character type in the alpha set, and there's like cards that were not in the alpha set. Like, let me show you an example here. You know the succubus card? Have you
there's a
seen that one?
succubus card?
Yeah, you haven't seen that. That's it was by Elvira Shakirova, and it was like an
Really?
artwork. It was an artwork that I discovered that wasn't used yet, and then so this is the painting for it,
Oh, I think
and
I have
then
seen that.
yeah. Oh, here you go. I posted it here. So there you go. It's an elite demon ready to lead mortals astray. So we have mortals We have demon. Demon is like a archetype. Um, so I mean,
Huh.
angels and demons, heaven and hell. You know, like a dark set's gonna probably have more demons, and then like synergies with those. And devil's egg, angel's egg. I mean, those are all clues. I think they're all scalable. There's a lot of stuff like that. If you just kind of let's browse the speculate a little. Just scan the card list on theories of what's scalable.
See, okay, like Sacred Scarabs was kind of like a big flag for me because I'm always into like Egyptian mythology, and I think that if they made an Egyptian set, that would be so cool. And I think like Sacred Scarabs kind of, or at least I'm hoping it hints that. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. Um,
Are there like any particular like archetypes that you may want sorcery to make?
well, that's a good question. I never really thought about that. I like a dynamic of like an angels and demons because of the dichotomy of that. Like you could have like really beautiful, like it gives you a lot of like art diversity potential in that because
For
there's
sure.
like, and the way that these artists do dark art, so to speak, or like hell or demonic, it varies like very broadly. Like Brian Smith's gonna do some like sick, nasty, sick shit.
Right.
But like Melissa Benson, like her, like the Benson card with the skeletons, like that's as dark as it gets for Benson. So like
Gotcha.
even within like the dark aspect of it, you're still gonna get a lot of stylistic diversity. But then also on the angelic side, I think there's a lot of possibility there where I don't know, like if or I guess it's kind of interesting too. Like some things you wouldn't think of. Like Severin's done a pretty broad variety of art. Like a lot of her stuff, you could envision she could probably do some really amazing angelic type stuff. But she's also done some like darker art in her portfolio outside of sorcery. Not like super dark, but more of like I don't know, like a darker tone. It's not like aggressively gruesome like a Brian Smith style, but still like there could be some really fun creative surprises like that too, like unexpected things out of certain artists. And like someone like Andrea Modesti, like if you asked him to do angelic or dark, I'd have no idea what to expect from him, which
True.
probably makes it like super fun for Eric to like come up with like some broad idea and just see what Andrea gives him, because I look at his
Right.
style is like so like old school classic. To like put him in a genre like that is like something just right out of the gate you wouldn't really expect. I don't know. Is the Spear of Destiny a good card? I love that freaking card. I want it to be good so bad.
I personally haven't used it. I've
Okay.
heard stories on Discord where like people were trying to like I think like one person was trying to see if like Grim Reaper would get its effect because it counts towards the kill or something like that. I can't remember, but I've never used Spear of Destiny. It does. I mean, I
Yeah.
love the artwork. I think the
Yeah.
ability is pretty decent.
It's really classic looking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you got
Actually,
Angel's Egg.
wasn't there like a curio for that too? The Spear of Destiny, or am I thinking of like sample packs?
There is a curio, yeah, in beta. It's a
Nice.
dumbass curio. That's why
Is
you
it
can't
really?
remember it. It's absurd. Because what happened was like in the pre-con decks, they forgot to get rid of the alpha, to change the alpha symbol, so they had the copyright symbol. So like in the beta version, let's go to the. I got a description of it here on the beta page. It's like it was that and Shifting Sands. They corrected the copyright, the miss on the copyright. It was really
Huh.
good. It's almost like I don't know. I can't. It just like boggles my mind why they decided to do that one. Because like, why would you highlight a mistake? I mean, is it they think it's funny or something? I mean, like, I don't know. I was annoyed they got rid of the copyright symbol. So like, I think it just draws more attention to the fact that they got rid of the copyright symbol, which is
True.
like awkward. Because now, like, I was like excited they're bringing the copyright symbol back on the Arthurian Legends cards. So they
Are
have
they
like the
really?
yeah. If you look at the so actually, so here's the really quick. Here's the Spear of Destiny. So when they put it on the precons, they meant to replace the they meant to do this basically. They had the little like line coming out of, just like on the precons. You know, that's I don't know if you can see it. The designator on the precons is they have the little line coming out on either side of the artist name. That's how you know it's a precon versus a alpha pack card, right, out of a booster box. But what happened was they had a copyright symbol instead of the alpha symbol. So now the curio for beta is that you have the precon, so you know it's from beta, even though it has an alpha symbol, because it has the precon designator, which you don't get on the new beta precons. So it's like a real convoluted, it's almost like, in a way, it's kind of like a clever little throwback to history, but it's like a goofy history. Like, oh, we fucked up like on the precons, you know, like who cares?
Man, that's funny.
I don't know.
No.
Maybe it's interesting in a similar way, like when Magic had some artist misattribution for like the one dual land that Drew Tucker did, I think it was. That's
right.
There was the Alan Pollock misattribution. I mean, you're gonna do a throwback to that mistake? It's kind of weird.
Oh man.
On the werewolf, but yeah. What was the question you had before that? I got off on a tangent. And Shifting Sands had the same thing.
Oh man, I honestly forgot. You got me off guard.
Yeah, I don't know, but with the Curios, I think there will be Curios. We were talking about that a bit, and I think they'll continue the idea because of they're getting exactly what they want. Even like when I bitch about the trolls all the time, like they're getting a lot of publicity out of that, and it's become like a funny meme that people enjoy. So it's just more attention on the game, and then I think like another like important point of Curios is that it helps retain intrinsic value in the sealed product because they're so rare and they've been so like well embraced by the community that like it just helps the potential value of a sealed box, which is good for the secondary market and longevity of price stability for it.
Absolutely.
Which is great. It's great for everybody. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for the day where I'll just go back through all my like commons and stuff, and I'll see like that one tiny little that one little subtle change, and I'm like, I finally found that curio.
Yeah,
and
and
it's
like
nothing
maybe
even super extravagant.
yeah, and it's not like outside of the realm of reason that maybe we have not discovered all the curios. Like people think like there's 18, I believe, in alpha, 18 in beta, but who's to say that some are just like extremely subtle and hard to detect, and we haven't found them all. It's possible. It's theoretically possible. And it's very like Eric the thing is, if you make it like so subtle, it kind of borders on, this is like a semi concern I had, like maybe it would never be discovered because it's just like something that's like so minute, or like maybe only the creators would even know to even think to look for it type of thing. I don't know, because like I thought he was, and I thought he might go to that extreme. He didn't go to like too crazy of an extreme, but like I think another point of the curios is to make you really study the cards and like appreciate the artwork, and also like I guess the attention to detail and the effort he put into the design of the aesthetic of the card itself, you know, because you really start to appreciate like even the font choices, and then the color palette. It's not like a simple like just solid blue, right? It has like these subtle nuances to it, and it's like almost has like a water-like effect for a water card. Like it's very clever, and then also even the shade within the box, it's all like amazingly aesthetically balanced. So when people are studying every card, they're like appreciating those aspects. Also the artwork itself, which is a huge aspect of this project. So it's great. It's a great idea.
Yeah, actually, wasn't that like with beta? Like that's how people found out that the Eric's Curiosa was a curio, because I couldn't remember who. Maybe it was like Hayne from Wizard's Den, where he made a video showing like the saturation of it was different, or like the printing of it just had like more
that's
of a pattern.
That's another one that's like super subtle that I wasn't wild about. I think that was like, I think the Eric's Curiosa is the equivalent of the trolls in Alpha. Like they were trolling us because it was like kind of like a meme in the Discords. Like everyone was like, "Oh, the Eric's Curiosa is not going to be in the beta set because I don't know. Maybe some people had some inside information because I think like Eric likes to talk when Simon's not keeping him under wraps. But like everyone seemed to coalesce around this theory that like the Eric's Curiosa would be the one card that was removed because they kept saying there's going to be 402 cards, not 403. So their little troll job with the Curios was, oh, you're all saying Eric's Curiosa is going to be out? Like, I'll show you. It's actually in there, but it's not part of the core set. So there's actually 402, but the Curiosa also is still in there. Both things can be true.
Wow.
So, I don't know. It's a goofy thing. But yeah, this one, it has the alpha symbol on here too. So the thing was, I mean, it's like a provenance thing, right? Like, you know, it's a curio for a couple reasons because there's not, you know, the pull rate indicates that it's not a mainstream part of the core 403. And they said there would be 100. They acknowledge there's 402 in the set. But the other thing is, like, as you're opening the box, you recognize it's the alpha symbol and not the beta symbol. But then how do you know? Like, after it's out of the box, like, that's where you get into kind of like the goofy subtleties. Let me see if I explained it here. Yeah, it has an alpha symbol instead of beta symbol. The company said there's 402 cards compared to beta. Yeah, there was something saying, like, people are saying the illustration seems to be a bit wider than the core alpha set copy. And there's subtle differences in the print quality as opposed to alpha. Yeah, I don't know. I think Hayne was claiming, like, oh, of course, I could just look at it and you could tell, you know? It's
Totally.
Like, well, you know, the average person's, like, not really going to... It's not so obvious if you had them. Maybe if you had two side by side, but how many... I don't know. Like, it's not a lot of people to just have, like, even, like, non-foil uniques. The average person doesn't have, like, a lot of multiple copies, and they're not going to have like the beta copy next to an alpha copy. That's going to be pretty unlikely. So to see them side by side isn't really like the best way to try to detect it for the masses.
Yeah, I think when they like first announced that this was a curio, like they were like, "Oh, I pulled the Eric's Curiosa in beta." I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure," because like, you know, I knew it wasn't in beta, but then when they confirmed it was a curio, I was like, oh, of course. I got to go back and buy more packs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. So it's working. But I think they're having fun with those things, so, you know, like laughing when the community's talking about the trolls and like all the polarizing aspect of it. It's almost like a Rudy type thing, you know, like be polarizing, get people talking. It's funny. It's effing with people. But
I mean, I love it. I think, like, you know, they have so much potential with Curios. Like, again, they could just use the original artworks. They could troll us with these tiny, minute details, or, I mean, even with the foils. Because they have, actually, as a matter of fact, the Immortal Throne, didn't the foil for it in Alpha, like, it was called Pendulum Apparel, and they had, like, the text of it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was a misprint problem in Alpha.
But like, wasn't like, I guess the Blizzard and Blink also a misprint, or did they just actually confirm like they did that on purpose?
No, it wasn't. I mean, like, a misprint implies that like it was printed incorrectly. What happened was the print file itself had a mistake on it.
Oh,
so
I see.
Yeah, and that was like, so that's how you end up with things with like artist misattribution. Like in the early days for us that were in the Discord, we were in there like all the time, like we are now, like in our own Discords or community Facebook group or wherever, right? But we were like in the official Discord a lot more, as before like all those other communities were established. So we were and like, again, like Eric was a lot more active and he was sharing stuff like through the development phase, and he would like incrementally, he would either share cards or through the tabletop simulator updates we would get like new glimpses of the print file, and they also had the print and play, you know, so that they'd have an update, and then like inevitably, like every time there was an update, I was like studying all the cards myself, and like many others too, but I was finding in several instances they had the wrong artist name on the card. And I remember giving like one of the early developers a list, and I was like, dude, you got to fix like these 6 cards, you know, like hopefully it didn't go to print yet, because it was like we always thought like printing was imminent because there was like kind of like several delays. And I was like, dude, I hope it's not late. You got to fix that. But then the one with the werewolf, you know what I'm talking about, like the Alan Pollock misprint. Do you remember that one from Alpha?
Oh
If
no,
you
I don't think so.
if you go to like Alan Pollock's cards, he has this werewolf. I forget what they call the card. Moonclan Werewolf. So it was kind of funny because I did this like big box break, like box opening alpha showcase event, like right at release. So they sent me a booster box, and then I coordinated with like half of the alpha artists. So I had all these guys. Did you ever see that video? Some
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I keep finding like some people even that are very active in the community don't know it exists, which is a real shame because the novelty of it is like so many of the artists were on there. Like I went back recently because like someone else told me that like I talk to all the time, and he had like I think he's in my Patreon too, and he was like so he's like a supporter of mine and like follows my stuff, and he had like no idea that I did like this event, and I was like, dude, how do you not know that? I was like, maybe a lot of people don't know that. So like it got me like thinking like I wanted to go back and look at the artist list, right? There's like a little over 30 artists, and I counted how many showed. So basically the concept was I was going to do this box opening, and I reached out to as many of the alpha artists as I could, and a lot of them I had already known pretty well because I interviewed them. I have like all these written Q&A interviews on the website here, or like I just talked to them a lot, or was helping some of them sell their work and stuff. So I kind of like begged them all like for a long time. I was like, please just make, because some of them are very shy or like just personal, introverted, and they didn't want to like be on camera, or they didn't want to come on. So some took, and others were just like, oh yeah, no problem, I'd love to like participate. But long story short, there was like 15 artists in this alpha box opening that I did, and it was just like I didn't tell anybody beforehand. It was like I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna do a box opening at release. So it was like people were excited enough about that, right? And it got pretty good views like right out of the gate. But I opened the show with Drew Tucker as a guest, like me and you talking here. So I coordinated to have, in the end, it was about 15 artists for the alpha debut. No one knew that any artists were coming at all. So like they were just like showing up to see the cards, right? And then it was just like one artist after the next. I was like, oh, and it's like Jeff Menges and like, you know, like Severin Pinu, like all these like artists that we just absolutely love because of the art. And like people were going nuts in the chat. Like I was like, I had to do so much coordination just because of the logistics. Like so many of us have never used StreamYard before. People are like, how do I even like get into it? What kind of equipment do I need? All this stuff. So I was like super nervous that like it was just going to be a debacle and like people would run into IT problems. But I had a guy helping me behind the scenes, like talking with the artists. And they were getting them in, and it was just like one after the next, and you didn't know which one was coming next, and then they'd show up and people were very excited. They all have different personalities, and some don't speak much English, you know, so it was a real fun dynamic event. So I did that for alpha.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the link later. Like the thing is, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's on that live tab because it was a live event. So it's not easily discoverable. People don't realize that that it's even out there. It's a shame.
So
It got a few thousand views, but it's like I don't know. It was like probably my proudest video, and like people don't even know it is out there. You know, it's sad. And it's a great chance to meet the artists. So I did that for alpha, and then I did like the same thing for beta, but I had a lot more and different. I had a lot of the same artists, but also I was able to get like Liz Danforth to come that time, Francesca Berald, who couldn't make it the first time. And she like the awesome thing was like at first like Brian couldn't do it. He's like, dude, I got a phone that I bought like in high school. It was like a phone from like the 90s. He was like, I don't even know if the camera works. He's like, there's no way like it's fast enough to like be on a camera. And he's just like a quiet guy and just like paints in his studio all day. But like the awesome thing about the beta one was that like there, you know how they changed the art for just a handful of the paintings. Like they had new art for the avatars. So Francesca Berald, Jeff Menges had the Violimp with the new art. Drew Tucker had the Courtesan Tice. What else was there? I think
Death Dealer was one of them.
Yeah, Death Dealer from Brian Smith. So like every new art that was in beta, the artist came on and showed the original painting. Like
really?
Yes, Francesca showed all 4 of her new avatars. Brian had his he was sitting there next to his Death Dealer, which is like a really big painting, and it looked freaking amazing. Nice. And I actually pulled the debt dealer while I was talking to him, because like the idea was, I was like, I'll open a pack while you're on stream and hopefully we'll pull one of yours, right? And
That's
like,
so awesome.
as fate would have it, man, like impossible odds, a unique card, right? It's like so small odds. I actually pulled it with while I was talking to him, and we were both
That's
like blown
awesome.
away. He was like so excited, and I ended up mailing it to him like after the show, and he was like really
Nice.
happy to have it. So yeah, that was fun. Like, had Rodney Matthews is like an interesting thing, because he's like in his early 80s now. He's like, or I think he's in his early 80s. So like a lot of the younger people have never heard of the guy, because he was really like in his prime, like super famous in the 70s, doing album cover artwork for certain bands. Um, and now like, just, I don't know, like he's not a TCG artist, right? So like art enthusiasts know who he is, and he's like a big time famous artist, but in the TCG world, people don't know him. And he came on the show, so it was like having like royalty on the show. I was like so excited and blown away.
Nice.
But yeah, you got to check it out. There's a lot of great moments. I think the other thing, like on the Alpha one, is like I told at that point in time when Alpha came out, I told very few people that I backed at the Avatar of the Realm level. So I was doing like all this stuff with the artist, and just like a very active member of the community with my community group and stuff. And nobody had any idea. I was shocked that like people didn't ask me like how many boxes I bought, or like what level I pledged. I was like trying to keep this secret, because I had this vision the whole time, which was that I would do this event, and I would have a surprise box opening with surprise artists, and one of those artists would be Severin, and I would show her own painting, and show the world. And like this big reveal is like, hey, by the way, I'm an Avatar of the Realm backer, and Severin, I have your painting. So like that's exactly what I did. Like the dream came true, and I
That is
showed her, and it
awesome.
was like very sweet moment. She was like very excited and happy, because we've gotten to know each other really well and stuff. And she was like, oh, I'm so happy you own this painting, and you'll display it proudly and all this stuff. So yeah, it
That
was
is
it was a good
awesome.
time, man. It was cool.
So, have you met like every artist like for sorcery, or
I
at least
haven't
like
met a
conversated
lot of
with
them
them?
in person. I've talked to like all of them. I think pretty much all of them, and
Nice.
some like a lot. A lot, some more than others. Like Ian Miller's hard to get a hold of, and like Adam Burke is kind of like off doing his own thing. He seems kind of like a hippie lifestyle type of guy. Just kind of like, I don't know. It's just some funny like quirks about him. So some like aren't like as social media like available on social media. Um, but like, yeah, most of them I've really gotten to know very well. Um, yeah, one of the big ones is like Rodney Matthews, man. I helped him sell his first 5 artist proofs, and like
Nice.
I was just like so humbled by the fact that like he would work with me and talk to me, because I reached out to him and I was like, dude, like I just love art, and I love your stuff, and I love sorcery, and here's, because he had never worked at TCG really, so I was like, this is kind of how the market works and stuff. Like I called him, I was talking to him. I forget how I first contacted him, if it was on email or his wife kind of handles his social media for him. Um, and he was like, yeah, why don't you give me a call and we'll just like talk about it. And I was like, well, I get to talk to a legend here. So I called him up and we talked for like 45 minutes or something, me, him, and his wife. And I explained everything going on about sorcery, because Eric's like a guy of very few words, right? So
Yeah.
like, I feel like the artists aren't in the know and don't really know what's going on. Like the ones that are active on the Facebook group, like Elvira and Kaio and Gadu, like they know like everything going on, right? But like your Rodney Matthews and Ian Miller, like even Jeff Easley, like they're not following any of this. They have like no clue what's
Oh,
going on with the project. So like I was giving them a lot of information and educating them, and I think he was appreciative of that. And he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to work with you," and all this stuff. And I was just like, man, I was just happy to even talk to the guy, and like the fact that he entrusted to work with me was just like very very humbling. It was like a surreal moment. So he came on the show, and Severin told me on the side that like when she was a teenager, like Rodney Matthews was her idol, and she's a big influence on her art career. So
oh wow.
the other like one unique, I'm sorry for talking so much. I'm just getting excited about it, but
I'm listening. I'm loving it. Keep going.
yeah, the one other like unique. So when I did the beta event, like I think the fans kind of knew. I was like, dude, there's gonna be like surprises, but it's gonna be artists, but there's gonna be some big surprises coming. Because by then the gig was up. Like alpha was like the alpha event was like a real profound thing because people had absolutely no idea. So like, and I did that on purpose. I probably could have got a lot more people to watch it live if I told them that like 15 artists were gonna be on. But I already knew that like I had a decent following and that like the real passionate sorcery people were just watching all YouTube content. Didn't matter who it was. So I was like, the people that truly love this project and appreciate the art, they're going to see it anyway. So I want to give them the added like shock value of the artist appearances. So I kept that as a secret. It was kind of a sacrifice. Like, you know, the Magic Historian, he has like a massive following. Like I jumped into one of his lives one time and he was like, I was commenting in there because he like showed up in that live event because he heard like that some of the artists were there and stuff. And he was saying like, this is like the best opening I've ever seen. This is amazing. Like it was such a great high praise. I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I went into his live like a week later and we were just talking in there and he was talking on camera. I was just talking in the chat. And he was like, dude, you're a moron. He's like, I can't believe you didn't like pump up that thing. He was like, that was such a big mistake. And I was like, I knew I was making a calculated sacrifice there, but it was like that shock value was everything to me. And the people that participated got a very special treat. So it worked like perfectly to plan. So anyway, the point of all that is that when I did the beta, I wanted to kind of like create a similar type of effect, except this time do it for the artists. So okay. I have this like group chat where I talk to like all the artists from time to time, and it's really cool because they all talk to each other and they share tips on, you know, how to like sign a card or like how they're approaching their artist proofs, like how to treat the card and make sure, you know, there aren't issues and stuff like that. Because a lot of them, again, haven't done TCGs before and haven't painted on a card. So anyway, I set that up really to coordinate the alpha event, and then it became like our kind of like artist kind of little group chat thing. So I was coordinating the beta event through that. And so they all knew like who could attend and who couldn't. They were chiming in and saying like, oh, I have a conflict, or like, yeah, I'm going to make it. And I was like, well, there's like, I'm going to have a surprise for you guys too, you know? And the surprise was I didn't tell anybody that Rodney Matthews was going to be one of the guests. So nice. Like when he came on, and like, you know how in StreamYard, like you and I are backstage right now, and you could see if more people were to join, they're backstage before I put them into the session. So like a lot of the artists were hanging out backstage before and after they were on camera, and I could see their reactions when Rodney Matthews came through. They were like lighting up, and like Severin really? I also like I knew that would happen, so I coordinated the sequencing such that it would be close to Severin's appearance, so I could see her react to like her idol being on camera, and she was just like riveted, you know. And then like same thing, like Francesca Berald was in the backstage just kind of like clinging to his every word, because it's like really interesting. The artists, we were having a little chat about their background and stuff, and you could see them just kind of perk up and like listening intently to the other artists, which is really cool. They all like really like and respect each other and support each other in a lot of ways, which is awesome.
That is really cool. Like just the fact that there's like a group chat of artists is like that's just really freaking awesome. So like just the fact that they're like, you know, like I guess like what you were saying with like Severin, how like I guess like she appreciates the other artists so much that that's her idol. That's so freaking cool. I love that.
Yeah, cool little insights, man.
Oh yeah,
it's a tight knit like artist community too. Like I say, like they help each other, they ask each other questions, they support each other, they're friendly. So when they come to events, it's like they're gonna, to some extent, they already know each other, and like some are more involved than others just because they're busy or whatever, different lifestyles, different time zones, even, you know, like Lindsay Crumet's down in or Crumet, I guess is probably the way to pronounce it. She's down in New Zealand, so she's like a day ahead of us, you know, like radically different time zone. She might be watching right now, but like if I go live midday on a weekend, you know, she's like middle of the night for her sleeping, right? So she misses it. So sometimes we're disconnected. Yeah.
I wanted to see like who all even is in the live chat, because I've been listening to your stories. That like that's like just so awesome. Like I'm honestly high key kind of jealous that you get to do all that because like real
It's pretty
talk,
fun.
whenever any like okay, like Elvira, for example, like I'll message
Yeah.
her from time to time because I'll just see and check in, ask her questions and whatnot. So just the fact that she would just reply back to me is just like, oh crap, like that's so
Yeah.
awesome. Like, because they're very busy, obviously, and I pay like such a high respect for them, especially for like even content creators like you, Angerworm, yes, my guy. Like, I appreciate that you guys are a part of the
Love that.
community, so it's great to kind of like, actually have a
Yeah.
chance to chat with you guys, and it's awesome that you guys reply back. It's a humbling feeling, like what you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's also it kind of cuts both ways too, because like the experience changes. Like when you become in like a business relationship with somebody, or like you're more friendly with them, like you've talked to them a ton, it kind of
Right.
makes it like more normal and like humanizes it, right? Whereas like if you're more detached and you like early on, that's very much what it was like for me. Like anytime an artist would like one of my posts or like make any comment at all, I'd be like, oh, that's freaking awesome. Like the artist is in there, they're talking, you'd like treat them like gods, like
Right.
they're like celebrities. So like that's also fun in a way too. That's exciting in a different kind of way. So yeah, it's like, but they're all awesome people. They're like so nice too. Like I haven't really had, I mean, because it's like with working with so many people too, or just like kind of being friends with so many diverse people, like we're all so very different people, right?
For
And
sure.
like sometimes even with like sales approach and stuff, like it could be awkward for an artist to like I was talking with one of the artists the other day, and they're like, "Wow, stuff in sorcery is like really valuable." Like, but I feel weird. Like, they're kind of like in a weird spot because like the stuff's so valuable, and they want to like do the best they can for themselves. But it's like if you bring something to auction and like a card, like one of the top cards, an artist proof can sell for like, let's just say $1,000 to $2,000. That's great. Like it's open, free market competition. Just like a few people really loved it and they bid it up, and who wanted it the most and who had the financial means to go after it gets it, right? So it's like democratized, like whatever, and it like detaches like the weird feeling of the artist. Like if an artist tries to directly sell and say like, "Hey, my card is $2,000," like it's almost they feel awkward doing that. Like they don't want to feel like they're taking advantage of the fans or something. And it's like not really the right feeling because like their work is totally valuable. I mean, they're like the best of the best. That's why they're in sorcery. So I think the
Absolutely.
valuations make sense and they're fair, and that's why people are willing to pay it. But it kind of like there's some value in that detachment where they don't have to feel awkward. They could still get the best value and get like what I think is fair value for their work without having to feel like they're price gouging or something. But I don't know. You might get someone that feels like that, whereas like another one might have a totally different perspective and wants to price things cheaply because they think that's the right thing to do, or just like they're fundamentally different because like they grew up in Europe or Russia or South America, and I have like a U.S. like upbringing background and cultural or different cultural religious type things. So, long story short, like there's I've kind of like I communicate with and work with like so many different types of people that there's like a there's it's like almost being like a manager. So it's like I don't know. You just got to be just when you're working with different people, you got to be careful not to offend somebody, or if you have different views, you got to kind of be empathetic to different opinions and open minded, different
For sure.
approaches. It's like any walk of life where you're dealing with like a large group of people, or if you've ever been in like a management situation, you have employees, right? Like they
Absolutely.
might all be very different, so you need to like kind of always be professional and respectful, and just like be empathetic to different views. It could be tough sometimes because I don't know, everyone's like got their own views and perspective on life too, based on their whatever reasons, right? Upbringing or just outlook or personality, fundamental
Absolutely.
personalities. A lot of like very different personalities, just like anybody, not just artists, but even community members. There's like a lot of
Yeah,
people that
that's
that
for
freaking
sure.
hate me. There's like
Right.
people that hate my ass, or others like really like me. So you can't please everybody. It's just everybody's different.
Right.
I don't know.
And I mean, honestly, like, I think that that's like also a good thing about the community too, is that like the majority of them are like actually just really chill. And whenever I was in the Discord groups like months ago, like when I was first starting it out, I was like, man, I have so many questions about sorcery. Where do I go to get all these answers? And when I
Yeah.
went to the Discord chat, like, I mean, dude, I was literally sending questions like every minute. I was like, I have so many questions. And I was like, oh, these guys are literally going to hate me. They're going to think I'm annoying. But all of them were really chill. They were able to like answer my questions, educate me in the game. So, you know,
Yeah.
I do admit that there's definitely a lot of like different walks of life for sure, but
Yeah.
I think that is really cool whenever someone can just like lighten the mood and just like be chill.
Yeah, as long as like it's all right to be different. I mean, as long as you're like reasonable and respectful, people get along,
Absolutely.
you know?
Hmm.
So, just being a little empathetic to different viewpoints and perspectives. Like the battle of player versus collector.
Yeah.
Someone's asking about Aussie. So Aussie Haikala is funny because I was doing these embellished. Here's a funny story. I do these embellished print projects with a lot of the artists that I work with because it's kind of
Mhm.
like an altar at a grand scale, and like people are talking here in the Discord about like whales who buy up the expensive stuff for big money, and joking that's not democratized, but there's like a spectrum of stuff, right? And everything's great in its own way. Like you can buy a open print unlimited print run, right? It's not numbered, it's not serialized, and that's going to be like the most inexpensive to purchase. And then there's like different tiers, you know. So I had this idea of like a lot of people can't afford an original painting, or there's an opportunity cost element too. Like they might just not want to spend that kind of money on original painting because like the same people that say they can't afford like a few $1,000 painting are the same people that are showing me like foil alpha stones and stuff. And they're like, dude, you could sell your stone and buy a painting if you wanted to and have leftover
Sure.
money to probably get a full like non-foil set. So, but that aside, you know, you have all these spectrums. You have people that go for originals, and then you have on the other side of the spectrum the unlimited prints. Then you could have serialized like numbered prints, a limited number of copy, and then I had this idea to do like embellished prints as a middle ground. They're typically like they could be like $500 to $1,000 depending on the intricacy in the card and stuff, as opposed to paintings which are now, you know, five, six, seven, 10+ thousand dollars depending on the piece.
I actually think I saw like you did, or rather, you had like a video where you had the Pathfinder embellished print,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, I
yeah, I
did
did
see that.
that.
That was pretty cool.
That was my first collaboration with Drew Tucker, which was like an honor too, because like I had, you know, Dan and like the Drew Tucker cards when I was playing Magic back in the day. So even
Right.
to connect with him and talk to him and find out he's such a great guy was super cool. But to get into the funny part of the story is like a while back, like over a year ago, I reached out to Aussie Haikala, who the guys are asking about in the chat here, and I was like, dude, like the what did they end up calling his is it lightning bolt, the one with the horse riding through the night scene and the lightning coming down, is it?
Yeah, lightning bolt.
Yeah, lightning bolt. So I was like, dude, that would be like so perfect for an embellished print. And he was like, embellished print, like what is that? And I was like, well, you like print, you do a print, and you could do like a nice like Geekly canvas print, or even like an art paper print on like a nice like GSM like thick quality like, you know, archival print or whatever. And you just like you paint over it. Like you could do a remark, which is like you add something, you know, like you paint something to like almost like a larger altar, or you could just accent things if you want to, like almost like a foil card, like a special finishing that makes it enhances it and makes it feel, but you're preserving the integrity of the original art concept. And he like he responded to me and was like, why would anybody want that? In
I
text
can think of a
message.
few people.
But he was like dead serious. He was like, sounds dumb. Or I don't think he said it sounds dumb, but it was like so matter of fact. He was like, yeah, I read your message. He was like, I don't understand why anybody would want that. He like
That's an
totally didn't get
awesome
it.
idea.
Yeah, but he's like really old school. He's like, you see his work. You should look at his work outside of sorcery, and it's like really old school. Like he's a fairly young guy, but he does like this throwback. Like he does like advertisements and stuff like that for different brands, and he has this like really old school like. I think I did an interview with him. Did I do an interview with him, or was it just in conversation? He was telling me that like some of his influences and inspirations were like some of that older, like 50s, 60s era advertisement type art. So I think he's just kind of like an old soul and is just like, nah, I think I'll just do regular paintings. And he
Nice.
doesn't have time to do his proofs. I've asked him a few times, and he's like, if I ever do them someday, I'll let you know, but I don't have any plans for like the foreseeable future. But there will be a few more artists coming. I'm really excited about that are working. They found some time. They've never sold any prints or very limited numbers. They'll be coming, so that'll be a fun new wrinkle.
Nice.
The proofs are fun because we got to wait a whole year to see new art from these artists in the context of the game, right? So I love that there's proofs out there where we can see them reimagine some of their own concepts or just do a whole totally different take and just appreciate new art from them. It's cool.
I agree. I think like for Arthurian Legends, because like, oh my gosh, I know Tony and it was Lindsay Cremette. They made like new art pieces for the game, and those so far have been like the only spoilers.
Yeah, Tony's Love Potion was the one that was spoiled. He did the Love Potion, and Lindsay did the. She had two spoilers because she did a show down in New Zealand where she lives, and it's on what was it called? It was one where they showed the art, I think, but not the card. Oh wait, hang on a second. So if you go to the website here and go to Arthurian Legends, so I'm starting to like collate all the Arthurian Legends art that's been spoiled.
Nice.
So you got Sir Tristan, that was sick. So Drew was able to spoil this one. This is Percival, I think it's called. Oh, maybe I didn't name it. He actually ended up selling this one after he showcased it at the IX Art Show, and I think that sold for over $10,000. That was like a great sale because it's a big piece and it's very typically when you're valuing the art, if it's very detailed and intricate like this and large size, like those are all factors that play into the valuation and also prominence of the artist and whatnot. Like this one, Sir Tristan, is absolutely insane because it is like very intricate gilding.
Right.
And the just like the time and effort that went into that, and then also the quality and then the nuance and novelty of it, and then it also has multiple characters. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different human characters and this dragon head or whatever this is. So like all of that contributes to the valuation of the piece, and these ones are pretty nuts. But there was this one from Lindsay that she revealed at her show down in Australia, and she always works on this
Wow.
oil on canvas, and she ended up selling this one. So these paintings are doing really well. Like I think all the ones that have been revealed have been sold coincidentally.
What are like? Because you caught me off guard with
Except
this because I didn't even know that this was a thing. Is that's like Ian Miller's art, right?
well, yeah, these two. So they're not 100% confirmed for Arthurian, but
What
he
is
posted.
that?
Yeah, he posted one day on Instagram. I think he said they were for sorcery because we were all like asking him like, dude, when are you selling those? Or how are they going to be available? And it was this one.
Dude.
Yeah, this is like unbelievable. Really, really great piece. Typical Ian Miller detail. And then this one here, which like you can speculate this is like a submerge effect, right? Like probably a water card. Which is or like maybe this is drown alternate art for revised. I don't know. Could be anything. But I think he tied it to sorcery, and then he took it back down for whatever reason. Maybe Eric, because like I think and Adam Burke did this too. Did I have the Adam Burke one on here? Oh no. Let me show you something here. If you go to Sorcery Art Gallery, and then I have this unconfirmed. Adam Burke leaked a couple. I had a chance to buy this one, and I really should have done it. I regret not buying it
Whoa.
because that looks like pretty sick, and it looks like it's going to be a great. I don't know if maybe it'll be a site. I'm not sure, but it was this one, and this one looks pretty cool too. And these were sorcery. So he posted them one day, and he was like, "Hey, just got these new sorcery paintings done. They're selling them." It was like he's selling it way too cheap too. It was kind of sad. It was like $600 or $800 or something like dirt cheap.
Damn.
And then all of a sudden, like I think I don't know, Eric probably reached out to him or something. And it was like, dude, that's for a future set. Like you can't be revealing the paintings yet. That's what I was saying like earlier. He's kind of like he's not like super connected to the sorcery project and team. So he probably just innocently thought like, oh, I was commissioned for some art. I delivered it. I'm going to sell it now. Maybe he didn't really realize that the set wasn't out even, or that he couldn't reveal it. So those two, I think he posted and he sold them like super fast.
Wow. So what I'm looking at right here, these are all cards that were, I guess, like a part of sorcery, but like they didn't make it in alpha or beta. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're paintings that were commissioned for sorcery, but we haven't seen them. They weren't in the alpha or beta set. Some of them we've actually seen in card form, but like this Succubus, right? That was like an early playtest card. We were looking at that earlier, but it wasn't an alpha. Huh. This is a Brian Smith. Pretty different for Brian Smith, except for the worms, of course.
It almost kind of, it looks like the, what's it called? Like the something mass or whatever it's called.
This is actually called Black Knights, is what it was called when it was commissioned, which is like totally Arthurian, right?
Yeah, so for sure.
It's highly probable to be in Arthurian legends, and I actually sold this painting last year sometime. Nice. I forget how, because Brian really wasn't selling a lot of his paintings early on, but somehow someone had it and had to it was like a consignment deal. I sold it for somebody through the auctions. Well, yeah, some of these like I've already seen and sold already. I sold this one too, the Tower of Babel.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
And that was like a split card. Remember they had the apex and the bottom. There were two cards that like had the game mechanic was when they come together and they're unified in the realm, they have like a special effect. I forget what the effect was.
I think it just like produced more mana or something. I think I do remember seeing that. I like that concept.
Yeah.
I kind of honestly hope that we see something similar to that, where they'll just have like, like I guess they'll have like a giant original painting because the detail is, you have to like really expand it to look at it. So why not have multiple cards so you can fully appreciate like all that fine detail?
Right. Yep.
I think, that would be really cool.
Yeah, especially the Seagraves, the Ian Millers, the stuff that Ed Bear Jr. is doing, insane detail. So, like, I think Eric should go, like when Magic did the jumbo cards, that would be perfect, for those ones in particular.
That would be cool.
To really be able to see the full thing. Or sell a poster or something. Yeah, some of these, like, this is the one of the counter spells. Exceptional. I think that's the exceptional counter spell, if I'm not mistaken. Or elite, one or the other.
I remembered the Book of Kells down there.
Yeah.
There
was a sample card.
Yeah, I was about to just say that. I was like, did you pull that sample or did someone else pull it?
Somebody else pulled it. If I remember correctly, it was in the 12 packs that Red Zone Rogue got from the company. Oh, okay. They gave him 12 packs early on, the showcase on YouTube, and he opened them up. He ended up selling like a lot of those or all of them. So someone ended up acquiring like most of his collection, and then I worked with that person and auctioned like almost all of it. That's really like what put sample cards on the map. Like we ran those auctions pre-alpha, and that really helped, I think, generate a lot of buzz for sorcery. Like the visibility and the publicity of those auctions and all the sample cards, because they're so fascinating. They're so different from alpha and the development change. Even like we were seeing the cards change on sample cards, from the sample cards, even in the TTS updates at that time. So like the print file was changing, and we're like, oh, we know this is going to be different for alpha now, but it's like printed as a sample card in its old form. It's really cool. These two were by Elvira Shakirova. Look at this. It's called Wrath of the Sea. And we have the Matthias Frisk Wrath of the Sea.
They made that into an actual card, didn't they? Yeah, Wrath of the Sea.
It's by Matthias Frisk. So the point is he commissioned two artists with the same title, which is an indicator to me that there will be a revised set and it's going to have alternate art like this. And I think like Simon kind of coyly said, in a coy kind of way, like when we do the revised set, we need it to have value in some way, right? But it's twofold. It's one, like there needs to be enough play testing, probably enough like export synergy with Arthurian Legends at least, and maybe even after whatever the next set is after that. And then if they need core cards, they would do a revised set and they'd retain like the cards that need to be retained and maybe get rid of cards that are OP or whatever the case may be, right? But that's one element of value. The other is artwork. Like
Right.
make different artwork to give people a reason to desire those cards and want to buy those boxes and buy the product. So I think so you have that Wrath of the Sea. This one, Free City, just like Ian Miller's Free City.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but this one was done by Elvira Palakowska. So
Interesting. So wait, so revise is definitely going to be a thing?
it's not 100% confirmed, but it was asked at the March of the Mortals tournament, and Simon said it's premature now, but he said like in a few years they might do it. I forget his exact wording. He said like I don't know if he definitively said it's a few years away, or if they were to do it, it would be in a few years because he was talking more about the gameplay, but he also made a comment about to have a reason, like give people a reason to want that product. And I think the
True.
reason is more than gameplay. It's more than the necessity of having the core set cards at a achievable and attainable price. I think it's the other reason they're going to give them is new artwork that's going to be compelling. That's my theory. Because
No,
like it's
that's
like there's the evidence, right? Like why would he commission
yeah.
the same titles?
Yeah, and I think honestly that's kind of brilliant because is that abundance? It looks like an
Yeah, this
abundance.
was a different artwork. It was called Gardens in the early days, but I think it was. So I don't know. It's unclear if this was like an alternate art. Actually, I talked to Vincent Pompetti about this ages ago, and I think he did say this was like the first concept he proposed to Eric, but then he wanted it redone in the way we see Abundance today. And I think
Hmm.
it's because like even though this is a beautiful painting, like if you think about it in the context of a card, there's a little bit too much going on with these disparate characters. There's
Hmm.
not that central focal point like you get on a typical TCG that tells you exactly what that card does at first sight, right?
Got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's my theory at least. He didn't tell me all that, but I'm guessing that's probably why maybe Eric thought it didn't work. Sometimes it's like the motif of it he thinks isn't fitting for the game. Like there was a great artwork that Gadu did in in the interview I did with him. I asked Gadu about this. Let me show you this really quick. He did this awesome artwork. And I remember I think I forget how it came up. I think I asked Eric why he didn't use this artwork, or I posted it in the official Discord, and I was like, dude, this Gadu painting would be amazing for sorcery. I'm surprised he didn't like license it because he didn't do it for sorcery. It was something he could have licensed in theory. This is it, and
Whoa.
he actually said, "I was it gonna blow up?" Yeah, he actually said he almost licensed this for the game. He was like really into it, but it has this like battleship here and this little helicopter thing. Like it's very subtle detail that you almost don't even notice, right? And he was
Right.
like his response was like it had modern like warship technology in it that he didn't think would work for the game.
Oh man.
So that tiny little nuance is like the difference of why this wasn't used. But that'll be so sick, man. I love that.
I hope that we see that in a card one day. Like, who knows? Maybe they'll just make like like a modern day set with stuff like that. That'll be a
Yeah.
good excuse for it.
Yeah, maybe it could be used for a future theme.
Wow, that artwork is really sick. Actually, that's really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful detail. It's like very intricate. Great concept.
Man, that's really what drew me into this game. Like, of course, I am a player at heart, obviously, but man, the artwork in its own right,
Yeah.
like hooked me up immediately. Like, it's so beautiful, all of it.
So a lot there's so many stories in it too, just kind of like over the last few years. Like this one here, when I interviewed Jeff Menges, Eric allowed us to have a reveal of one of his paintings, and I actually revealed this painting at the end of our written Q&A. I used it to kind of like hype up the article. I was like, "Hey, I'm interviewing Jeff Menges, which is awesome in and of itself, but there's going to be a special like aspect to it. Like we're going to do a reveal." So like Eric allowed us to reveal this one, but then he didn't use it in alpha. and like this looks very evident. It's called True Allegiance, and it looks like, this guy being knighted. So it's going to be in Arthurian Legends, right? It's pretty certain, I would say. So that's why he held it out. But it was just kind of funny that he let us reveal one that he didn't even end up using.
Oh wow, that would be sick if that wasn't Arthurian Legends. That'd be a cool
Yeah,
card.
I think it's got to be this one here, Edge of the World, but by Marta Molina instead of Adam
Oh,
Burke.
huh.
So maybe it just didn't work for the game, or maybe an alt art for revised potentially. It's pretty cool.
I think if revise is certainly going to be a thing, like I think, of course, I was talking earlier about reprints and whatnot. I think that, like, I don't know, like I guess reprints wouldn't be so bad if like you change the artwork. But just a thought like that maybe they'll just do a Philosopher's Stone or stuff like that for revise would be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. These
I was going to
rivers.
say,
There's like a whole set of rivers that Marta did too, but they used there's actually one extra one from Matt Thames too that wasn't used. River
huh?
Bridge is what it was called. But like, there's a whole set of rivers. Like, if they do the basic lands, these would be great as
Yeah, for
replacements for
sure.
Matt Thames rivers, and I think that would be super cool because you have the basic, the sample cards, the basic sites, which are pretty great because they're so meta relevant, but also to replace like basic lands almost has that mystique like Magic does. Like the alpha
Absolutely.
basic lands are still interesting and valuable to people.
Yeah, I think honestly, like just everything that we talked about, as far as just like alternate artworks, even just other artists producing the same type of artwork.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, if they were to manage to put like the artworks together, oh man, it's a wrap. Instant success.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot of so much art that was commissioned but not used. This one was called Vesuvius, and it was
Oh, that
Jussie Pilkus did the Vesuvius.
right.
This one actually it was called Krakatoa. I think I speculated that it could have been an alternative option for Vesuvius, probably in revised from Aranja art. She only has a few cards in the set, but there was look at this one, Mountain Pass. They used
Yeah.
the one from Marta. This one was done by Aranja art too. It's like great option for it too. It's actually fairly similar.
Wow, it's like so refreshing
These
too
two.
how like you can look at the card now and just know what it is almost, or it kind of what it resembles that's already printed.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. That's so cool.
Yep. Time stop, man. When I pulled that sample, that was like maybe my greatest pull of all time. That was like I pulled two alpha foil stones, but pulling that time stop, man, I had no idea that even existed as a sample card, and it's
Yeah,
so
isn't
stunning.
like right now there's only just one known right now.
Yeah, that's the only one that's ever been pulled to our knowledge. I've had a
Dang.
few of those like that. I think the River of Flame, there might have been one in the pre-con decks, but I think I had a few that were like a first time only. I pulled a Mix Ignis one time. That was pretty wild.
Nice. Yeah, that time stop is insane. That was done by
Yeah,
Severin, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Look
that's
at all the
nice.
detail, the hair and stuff. I'm always impressed like how artists do the hair.
Wow.
So good.
Wow,
So
even the detail in the background, like in the
this
like gears and stuff.
like this I don't understand like the skin tone and the lighting, is just like so masterful. Because
Yeah.
you're doing that with paint. Like for one, like whenever I draw, I don't paint, but like if I were to draw, I struggle like so badly to get like the depth perception, of anything. Like that's just like so hard to do. I guess like if you
Right.
get really good at drawing, you kind of it becomes second nature and you figure it out. But to then have to do it with like color tonality, to kind of like accent a cheekbone or like show like this perspective of light coming down from above on her face and on a dandelion. Well, in the detail of the dandelion too, and like the shards of it, like you're blowing a dandelion and it's like blowing away. That's like so freaking incredible. This piece is unreal. I love the
Yeah,
gears
it's
too. Like it has kind of like a
masterpiece.
Kythera mechanism aspect to it. It's
Right.
I wish I owned this one. It would go so great with Keith Era Mechanism.
Who knows? You think that they'll make a time stop in an actual set sometime?
I think it could be an Arthurian, or yeah, I think it's got good odds.
If it
I
keeps its original effect, like, because I've read the effect and like
oh
that card is broken if it managed to actually get printed with that
yeah,
effect. Anyways.
I think it's highly likely the art will be used. I mean, it's totally fair game that they could change the effect.
For sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's more angels and demons, even, or heaven, hell. I don't know. So this was like, I don't know if this one was labeled. Oh, it said card name to be announced. So this is one that Vasily did, and I speculate this was probably Donnybrook in,
I
and
was
then
just thinking that,
yeah,
right?
and then Eric probably worked with them and said like, nah, I need you to like really focus on one building structure and make that prominent.
Ah,
Was probably what happened here.
dang.
What
Yeah, I
was
hope
this
some of
one?
these artworks actually become like cards and actually get recognized as playable cards because I mean, all of these are just amazing to look at.
Yeah, yeah,
I
good
know for
stuff, man.
sure. I guess everyone's been talking that like the Holy Grail is going to be like in Arthurian Legends, like the next Philo Stone of the set sort of deal. What's your thoughts
I
on that?
yeah, I think it'll absolutely be in the set, but like we saw, did you have you seen the card version of this?
I didn't even know they had
The
one. No.
Yeah, there is one. And someone had a great idea. I haven't had time to like do it yet, but he said like I should make a page on my site that has all the cards that were revealed but not used. And I really should do that. So there's a resource that people could go look at. But let's see if I can. I'm sure I must have shared it on the Facebook group. Whenever I got it's like so convenient to just search the Facebook group and find stuff. Like here's the original painting for it and the original sketch that Subla did.
Nice.
So posted by me, and then if I go to, it's got to be in here. It had like an effect. Here you go. Play on the middle site. Any avatar that picks up the Grail gains 20 life. This destroys the Grail. So
Wow.
it's kind of like it's. I don't know. It's kind of powerful in a way, but it's also maybe too gimmicky or narrow. I feel to be like a super powerhouse type of card. I don't
That would
know.
be
So
a
I think
really broken card,
you
actually.
think so. Yeah,
Absolutely. Like even
because you
with
full
seven
heal.
mana, like I mean, I can think of so many cards to break it. Like I mean, you can use Blink to teleport the avatar and pick it
Yeah.
up. Because I actually found out from Ira that you technically, because at first I thought you had to tap your avatar or minion to pick up artifacts, but you just have to announce it. So you can use your avatar to even tap and move and then just declare to pick it up, and then you just gain 20 life with that. That's really broken. It's so
Yeah.
good. Even as a one of, that's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing artwork. I've been trying to buy this painting from the guy for like a year and a half. I actually had a chance to buy this painting, and it was in the early days when like a lot of the artists were selling stuff like dirt cheap. I don't know, relatively speaking to today. I know nothing's cheap, but it was like 600, $800 a lot of these artists were selling for. And I think
Wow.
this one was like 2 grand maybe 1,500 or 2 grand. I was like, whoa, it's like double, almost three times like these other paintings. Because I really liked it. I was like, should I buy that one or like the opportunity cost? I could go for others. So I passed on it, and then the other guy bought it like the same day that I was like debating and waffling. So
Oh
like all this
man.
time I've been like razzing him. I was like, dude, just freaking sell it to me. Come on, like.
Oh
But because
man.
like the card looks like decent, but I think the original painting looks so much better than the card. Look at this, just like the deep blues,
Oh yeah.
it looks
Absolutely.
amazing. I don't know, it looks infinitely better. I don't. Some of them like the card, it looks worse for the card, but I could also appreciate just like Immortal Throne. Maybe it was like too vibrant and like
Mm.
just a little too saturated to like really work on a card. You got to find a balance where you don't want it to like stick out too much or be like, I don't know, glaring, I guess.
I don't know
But
though.
it
Like
looks
I
great.
think the blue hues actually make it pop a little bit more though. I kind of like
Yeah.
that.
And that's like a scan. Let's go back to the original. It's a little more subdued, I guess, on the original painting. But I don't know. Yeah, that color blue outline he used, and then radiating from the heads and the hands are
Yeah, I
just so
like that.
great. And then this is like the Easter egg hidden under the text box. The symbols there.
You said that's an Easter egg? Like for what?
Well, it's like Sudler likes to hide stuff in his work, so like you knew that text box was going to be there. So until you see the full art side, you wouldn't know that was there. It's covered up.
Ah, I see. No, that
These
makes
symbols,
sense.
yeah. And he told me like one time he told me that these are like glyphs that say the word Holy Grail. But another time he told me it translates to Jesus. So
Oh
I'm not
wow,
sure. I never did the research to like nail him down on it. So I'm not sure exactly what it translates to. But it's
that's
kind of
pretty cool
funny.
though.
I was like, which one is it, man? I'll have to ask him again when I see him in Baltimore. Or next time I
Yeah, I
talk to
think
him.
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I should go to sleep soon, man. 2.5 hours.
I was gonna say this is a it's a pretty long interview, but man, it's been a hell of a blast. It's been
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked to do it. It was a lot of fun. If you ever want to do something on your channel or whatever, just let me know,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Anytime.
for sure, man. Definitely. Just keep in touch. We'll make it
Yeah,
happen.
hopefully you can make it to Baltimore too. You should really try to make an effort because it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a really big deal.
I'm definitely
I don't
gonna
know if I
try.
mentioned it earlier, but I'm gonna be doing like Q&As with the artists and like interviewing them basically in the side room. Couple like probably two at a time. You know, a few different sessions, but like the participants or people that attend will be able to ask artists questions and stuff. I'm just gonna like DJ it or host it, I guess, in some way. But yeah,
That's
it's gonna
gonna
be
be
nuts,
awesome.
man. There's gonna be so many like fun activities even beyond the gameplay, and just seeing the artists will be cool. And just like people we talk to every day in Discord that we don't even know what they look like, you know, or whatever. You know,
Yeah,
we only know their goofy Discord name. We'll see them in person.
yeah, I'm definitely I'm gonna try my best to make it out, no promises, but man, if I do, I know it's gonna be a good time for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully it works out. But
Yeah, man.
all right, man. We'll have a good one. See everybody that hung in there.
Thanks,
Thanks
buddy.
for
I
coming
really
on.
appreciate it.
All
Goodbye,
right, take
everyone.
care. See ya.
Take it easy.